and I'm extremely honored to be your new bishop. This has such a wonderful reputation. Please know of my great excitement in coming to you soon, serve here. All of you are my heart and my prayers, and I ask that you transition.
Villain.
Generally, fiction that's done by like smart people has been moving away from having inherently evil beings as far as like a human goes, right? Like, so saying Ahmad Farouk is just an evil guy, considering there's some racial undertones to that, potentially and stuff too. Kind of cringe. But then to say, well, the Shadow King is actually this entity that is just evil, like they redeemed Hal Jordan this exact same way. That's pretty, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. I didn't read that part. That sounds pretty good. They parallaxed him.
You underestimate us, mutant.
Morph! Belly up!
I challenge anyone to read Isom and come out of it feeling like he's a good character. Like, I saw a website trying to say, oh, this is how black characters should be written. First off, no. I'm gonna tell you right now, if Marvel or DC created a black character and that character in their first, like their number one issue, the issue that's supposed to be like your litmus test, or like you have to put moments in this, like case in point, motivation. You have to have reasons for why you are going to spend your hard-earned dollars on this character. And if you, a creative, come to me when I ask you about the motivation for your character and you just tell me that, I don't know, my character just did it because his mom told him to.
Yeah.
I don't want to read that comic because that tells me that character has no fucking agency.
the other one, No Organized Chaos.
Actual fandom.
Here's the thing.
Journey that we choose as fans. You know, everything's just not always going to be great. And when it's great, you got to celebrate the hell out of it. But when it's not, you just move on to some other shit. It's like the easiest thing in the world.
Oh, somebody please think of the children!
The only way that you can really stop this kind of thing is to arouse public opinion. It's very upsetting. It has a bad moral effect.
Forced adversity.
Ask yourself, what's more terrifying, fear or the frightened?
The facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire.
Bad, B-A-D-D, bothered about Dungeons and Dragons.
Up yours, woke moralists.
Socialism has spread the shadow of human regimentation over most of the nations of the earth.
And they're pushing identity politics with this. They 100% are.
How do you think homosexuals reveal themselves?
And the shadow is encroaching upon our own liberty.
I think there ought to be a law against them. Tonight I'm going to show you why.
Hey, 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 hey.
Hey, hey.
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 Hello. Today's the day. Oh, what the hell is that thing? What is that?
This is Raichu. They're my producer.
That's pretty cool. And they help you out on like the day that you're visible each year.
Yeah, this is the one day I'm visible.
Right. It's really cool how that works out. I mean, it's like, I mean, not cool. I wish it was more days, but like the whatever the magic is that is involved, it like only allows you to be visible one day a year.
Yeah, it's some weird fairy thing. Like,
yeah.
It's very complicated. I actually can't explain it to you, or I will explode into glitter, and it'd be a mess.
I mean, that would be kind of cute, but yeah, we won't have. I wouldn't have anybody to host the show because you're hosting the show.
Yeah,
today.
I'm hosting the show. Surprise! The one day I'm visible a year, I'm going to host the show.
Yeah. The only thing I will do before that is just to say that it was my choice here at the kind of the last minute a few hours ago. I'm just not feeling 100%, and we had planned on starting our history of conservatism series, and it's a pretty big topic and one that I want to get, not that I couldn't get it right, but I just wouldn't be able to get it, I guess, as focused as I'd want to if I actually went through with it today. So yeah, we're postponing that a week, and it works out anyway. Works out really well, actually.
Yeah.
Because today, as we celebrate in this country and around the world,
like we do every year for the last 15 years.
It's a tradition at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Trans Day of Visibility, and I myself am not a trans, but hey, guess what? My co-host is. So
hi.
that works out. And it's almost like if there's some type of like I don't know, some type of deity that was, I don't know, so they're just like blessing us on this day with this fortune, with this synchronicity, then we would give thanks to that deity. But I don't think there is one. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know if one's out there. You know what? We can share. Like I know there's this egg guy comes back from the dead.
The bunny.
He had a thing today, and like we celebrated that over at my grandma's. We had a lovely lunch. It was delicious. But then I was visibly trans the whole time, so like yeah, we can do all of those things, and it's nice that it syncs up this year. Because like I hate holidays actually, so like I would hate to have like a day of visibility to go see family where they can see me that one day a year and like put on my human disguise and go see my family for Easter. I could do it all at once this year because the next time we can do that is in like 2086 or something. So like it's a little rough.
Yeah.
I'll be pushing 100 then.
That's gonna it's a long time. I mean,
yeah.
Wow. I mean, but look, we should be thankful to the Christians today because they are so willing to share the spotlight.
Well, I think some of them are, and I think there's an easy way to tell like the Christian. So like you hear the term in fandom a lot, tourist, right? Like, oh, you're just a tourist.
Yeah.
You're not a real fan. Well, I feel like a real fan of Jesus, those Christian people, I think they would know that Easter moves around every year. I know that. My family knows that. They're all Christians. Several of the Christians in chat, I would imagine, know that. But a lot of these like big Christians who like to talk about how they love Jesus so much don't know how his holiday works.
So, but the way that they decide on that is like, I mean, who moves Easter around?
The moon.
Oh, so how does Biden come into this? Because see, I've seen like several places I've seen it saying that the Biden administration's trans day of visibility, like it belongs to him. He decided to say it's today. And like, how dare he? The Trump administration, some others on the right have come out and they're like, "Oh, well, how dare he?"
I mean, I had plans for Trans Day of Visibility before Biden announced it, so like Biden's just kind of hopping on our bandwagon, and he's welcome. That's fine. I don't really like that he's getting the credit for it. That seems sus. Like, really, just the old cis white guy. What's that about?
To be fair, I think it's blame that they're trying to give him more than credit.
I know.
I mean, but yeah, it's very stupid. And like, the stupidest part is that like, okay, you want to make sure that this is your Jesus day. I mean, we already got one for one thing. You got a couple really, but okay, you want to make sure today is also the Jesus day,
right?
Then why are you amplifying what Biden said on Friday?
You're making us extra visible, and like you're making yourself look dumb. Because like if you actually read the fucking thing, the notice, it's kind of fucking nothing. It's like, oh yeah, we recognize this day is happening. Oh, thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Like it's nice to have a president go like, yeah, I see ya. Well, I wish he would do more. I wish he would leverage the federal government and federal agencies to enforce existing laws on states that are marginalizing us.
So, but I wonder if maybe this statement, so that he tweeted or he X'd.
Tweeted. We dead name Twitter here, sir.
He zarded earlier today at noon. He said, "Today on Transgender Day of Visibility, I have a simple message to all trans Americans. I see you." And then this part, I imagine, is rubbing some folks the wrong way. "You are made in the image of God, and you're worthy of respect and dignity."
An attempt was made.
Yeah, I mean, look, an attempt was made. He tried to marry the two things, so to speak.
Right. And you can do that, right? I don't, we can have our cake and eat it too, in terms of like celebrating these things. And there are plenty of trans Christians. Like, I don't think that represents me, right? Like, I don't believe in a God, but the people I went and had Easter dinner with, they believe in a God, and we get along swimmingly. Mostly.
It's like You know, and then the top reply on this tweet is from End Wokeness, which is basically just a Nazi account.
It's just another Nazi account. Like,
and they're like, you know, you would never disrespect any other religion like this, and it's like this presumption of somehow this is disrespectful. And it's like, well, no, it's only disrespectful if you're like a hateful fucking Nazi, though. Really.
Right? Yeah. Like, what? Like we did this last year. Like I posted last year about Trans Day of Visibility on the 31st, and that wasn't Easter that year.
It's weird.
Turns out, like, but now they're upset, right? Oh, you put it on Easter? No, Easter is a roulette wheel based on the fucking moon. Like your fucking big Skyrock picked today. We didn't pick that. The Skyrock did. It's a very lovely Skyrock. It's pretty to look at night, but it is the Skyrock's fault.
Well, you know, they're I don't know. They're just they're weirdos. They're weird people. These people. They're weird, and I'm talking about these rightoids.
They're either dishonest, right? Either they know that Easter is a different day every year, and they're just going for the trans outrage clicks because they love themselves a moral panic. And you know, I think we just had a crime moral panic last week, so we must be back to trans people this week because they gotta keep you outraged, right? Like they can't just like go with one thing because their audience will get bored. And so they've got a whole like, oh, you know what? It's crime in Chicago week. And next week's going to be trans weeks. And then after that, it's going to be immigration. We'll do that for 2 weeks. And then maybe something about Muslims just to change it up, you know, bring back a classic. Yeah, I don't.
Well, so because we kind of threw a wrench in the works today. What are we talking about?
So I wanted to talk about this.
Okay.
Because I it's today, and also like I have not been a person who has said that these right-wing Christians are not Christians. I have taken them at their word because I believe that is what they believe.
Yeah.
Or I did. But today I think is the clearest proof we've had that they are not. They don't know their own religion.
Well, I mean, and that's something that I've noticed is, you know, it's true in every aspect where the right is using some sort of text to be bigots or gatekeep or whatever, and it's like they don't know the text of the thing, right?
Well,
like whether we're talking about the Constitution or the freaking or comic books or Star Wars or whatever or the Bible, like, you know, they just don't know it. They overcompensate for that by just like you know.
So they like with the Bible, because the Bible is a big anthology and there's hundreds, if not thousands, of iterations of the Bible, right? There is not just one the Bible. There are all these different translations, and then some of those translations have different versions and revisions. We're not talking about a uniform text. We're talking about a collection of texts based on a collection of texts edited down by some Roman politicians in Byzantium.
Right.
1,000 years ago or whatever. More than that.
Like for political purposes too.
Right, for political purposes, right? Like, so you can find things in the Bible. You can make the Bible say whatever the fuck you want. It's not hard. Anyone who's read the Bible can do enough Googling to figure out to make the Bible say what you want it to say. It's really easy. Half an hour will work.
I mean, I can't justify being a Christian. You know, I used to be somewhat, you know, for a short period, and like, but I mean, even if I decided that I was going to like be a Christian for whatever reason, I decided that, I don't believe that I could even attempt at taking the Bible literally on almost anything. It would be more like just the spirit of it. You know what I mean? Like so to speak, the vibes are what I'd be trying to adhere to, and only the Jesus parts. And you know what I mean?
Right. But even Jesus has some things that are yikesy.
Sure. Yeah.
Like Jesus calls on you to fucking kill your family if they're not Christians. Turn brother against brother and father against father, and etc. etc. Like Jesus has some fucked up stuff.
Yeah.
So like again, you can make the Bible say whatever you want, but like I think with Easter, why this clarifies to me that they're not even Christian. They're just tourists, is this Easter thing. Because Easter has worked this way for centuries, right? That it's the first Sunday after the first full moon after the equinox, and I'm sure they stole that from some Roman holiday or something, because that's how those things work.
Mm-hmm.
Basically,
has something to do with Ishtar, I believe.
Well, there's a whole bunch of theories about like what things were syncretized into the Christian holiday of Easter, but the issue you have is this weird calendar difference where like the Easter story begins on the Jewish holiday of Passover, because that's the Last Supper, is the Passover supper. And then he gets killed at the end of that week, and then 3 days later he respawns, right? That's the whole story. So you've got Passover is based on one calendar, and the Roman calendar is a different calendar. And so this is why Easter bounces around, is because like, well, where does that fall in relation to this and our two different calendars? What the fuck is going on? So, but this is all, everyone knows Easter's in a different day every year. In fact, like I work with people who are like Sunday go to meeting Christians who are like, wait, when the fuck is Easter? Because they know it moves all the time. They knew it's different every year. And it's just like, oh yeah, fuck, it's this week, isn't it? Yeah, it's this week, you dummy. I have to take off of work because my kids are going to be off. And I'm like, you should have planned this out before now.
It's like, yeah, they want it to be like Christmas, but it's really not. We all know it's not. You know what I mean? Like it's nobody's looking forward to it, really. Right?
Well, Christmas is a national holiday, and Easter is not. And part of the reason of that is we already have one national holiday that bounces around, and it has the good sense to say on a Thursday, which is Thanksgiving. We should make the federal election a national holiday. Biden. But
I agree.
If you're listening, while I'm visible, the one day you can see me.
He's listening.
But we've all known that. Everyone I know who's Christians, I grew up around Christians. I went to a Christian school. We all know Easter goes around. But suddenly this whole group of people who are devout Christians all forgot that Easter changed every year at the same time. So either they were never Christians and it's just cosplay, or they're liars who just use Christianity as an excuse for their bigotry, in which case they're still liars.
Well, they can't be liars because they're wanting to base, like they're basically, this Project 2025 thing, which we're going to be getting into starting next week.
A little bit today too. We're going to tie it in.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
So we were doing a bit of a prologue then. And yeah, a lot of it seems to be kind of like based around, religious thought. And it's like, but they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't like just use religion cynically to create a system of to basically overhaul the executive branch and give the president unparalleled powers just so that they could restructure government in the way that they want, right? They wouldn't do that.
So I guess I have a good thought experiment. Their holy book, the Bible, right? We've talked about that before. I want you to guess which of these is true. God specifically condemns killing children in the womb. Or 2, there is a recipe for a potion to cause a miscarriage, aka a medically induced abortion, in the Bible.
I'm gonna say the potion one is true, even though I've never heard of that. That's kind of crazy because I've heard of all the fun contradictions.
So there's lots of times in the Bible where God's like, fucking kill fucking all the babies. Just like those people, I would love you to kill all of their babies.
Oh yeah, there's the dash them upon the rocks thing.
Yeah,
that's a fun one.
That's a fun one, right?
Have I ever told you about evilbible.com?
No, I have not.
Or it might be .net. I can look it up. But like, yeah, Evil Bible is just like all of the stuff that they definitely aren't reading on a regular basis in most churches.
Yeah.
But it's there in the Bible,
Yeah, it turns out it's a thick anthology that does a bunch of shit. And in the same way that I can, crack open the Iliad and read the Iliad and not believe that, Odysseus's mother dumped him in a divine fountain, but because she was grabbing him by the ankle, his ankle isn't divinely protected, but the rest of his body is. I can read that and just go, this is an interesting story, and not believe it's real. You can do that with the Bible. You don't have to take it as this, like, real thing. Oh, did I say Odysseus and not Achilles? I'm dumb.
Greg's like, God, get it right.
Yeah, that's Achilles. Yeah, to all my Greek mythology believers, I'm so sorry I screwed that up.
I mean, but I actually love that our audiences are the ones to have like more than one person to correct you on that.
That makes me really happy, actually. Like, I love that. And I know it's Achilles. I don't know why I got it wrong.
So yeah, if you guys ever just looking for a handy guide for arguing with theists about this stuff.
Well, it turns out because you can make the damn book say whatever the fuck you want.
True.
Like even like the Genesis story, Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2 are two different creation myths.
Wait, what now? What happened?
So the first chapter of Genesis is one creation myth. The second chapter of Genesis is a different creation myth.
Oh.
That we have like syncretized together into one creation myth. We're like, well, this is.
What do you mean? Like, so the universe and Earth is one, and then like another one is humans, right?
Right, but the order God creates things in the latter one doesn't match up with the one in the first one.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
You can't like create the plants and stuff before you have light, right? That doesn't do that.
It's that. It's like the creation of humans and animals. Like, how does that? It works differently. Like, they're not the same story, but we kind of treat them as the same story because if you think about it too hard, it stops making sense. Probably because they are two different stories, probably written hundreds of years apart, and that's okay. Like, you can just have mythology.
Bob, I don't know that that's a problem with it. I think that it's engaging with. I mean, I think it's taking a stand of like, this is, if there are fundamentalists, then they should also believe this kind of stuff. Basically, anybody that uses the Bible in a fundamentalist kind of way, that there's going to be a counter to those things. I don't know that that's a problem.
So I think it's one of those things that like it is important. It is more important to know that self-identified biblical literalists don't follow the Bible literally,
right?
Than it is to argue that point with them, because they have the ones I have interacted with in my life have a trained defense for that. It's like, well, the Bible, to understand it, you have to have received like the Spirit. Ooh, they have different names for it. Like you have to have that like God's spark understanding. Otherwise,
I have been saved. I have been blessed and saved by Jesus Christ. That I'm one of them. So
you right, but apparently not. Your pastor must have been naughty or something. Or
okay.
Like they have a trained response. That is why their literalism is the real literalism, and you're wrong. And that's why, like, I think arguing with them on that turf doesn't really accomplish much because they have that, like, you haven't seen, you don't have the Holy Spirit in you, so you can't read it the right way, where I do and I can. And it's
it used to be fun for me to try to engage in that way because I was as a new, freshly out atheist, anti-theist years ago. I was a dickhead, and it reminded me, like, whenever I see lefties that are like, using theory against liberals online or something like that. Like, it's the same kind of attitude, I feel like, where you're like, oh yeah, I just learned this stuff and it makes you look stupid.
Congrats.
Yeah, and now it's just not.
What theory isn't?
What?
Praxis.
That's true. Those are two different things. Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of online leftists like to talk theory, but like a lot of them don't like doing the work. I had an interaction this week with someone. So last weekend I was at GaryCon, which is a gaming convention in honor of D&D creator and kind of a scumbag, Gary Gygax. And someone was complaining about how like people who are nominally allies were proudly saying they were going to GaryCon. It's like, I went there visibly fucking trans. I don't pass. And you know what? You know how I want to improve gaming spaces and you know, representation in gaming spaces? I'm going out and fucking doing it.
Boom.
Like, yeah, Gary Gygax, kind of a scumbag. Whatever. He's dead. I don't care. I can go there and I can represent trans people. And for trans people who are there, who might be out or in the closet, they can see me there running games. I would rather do that than pout online about ally. Oh, allies went to GaryCon. Yeah, they went there and they helped me.
When you say running games, you mean like running like RPG? Okay.
RPGs, yep.
See, because it could be like you're like there, like, you know, you're there to score with, I don't know, you know, somebody. You're like, you're getting laid left and right. You're running games on these hoes or something. I don't know.
People do that. I do not know.
Yeah.
I even took like the con goes Thursday through Sunday, but my spouse couldn't come, so I went Thursday through Saturday and then came back and we went out on a date. We had a little date night.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
That is nice. Morgan's
yeah,
out here
I
running
can't run
game.
game. I am not a flirty person. I don't have a high body count, and I don't care.
I'm glad you enjoyed that that visual as well, Julia.
Yeah, I'm glad you two are having fun with that. You kids have fun now. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say that it's so the Comstock Act, which we've talked about before, but like we're gonna come back to it because it is a relevant starting point, kind of like pre-position to go into the history of conservatism, right?
Right. So the Comstock Act, for those of you who don't remember or didn't watch, also, it should be on the FAPcast channel. You can watch it there after this. So I'm going to give the Cliff's Notes version. Is an asshole named Anthony Comstock hated fucking lewd stuff. And lewd stuff is like hot letters, but also abortion information. And so he got Congress to pass some laws that the official name of the act is the Act of Suppression of Trade in and Circulation of Obscene Literature and Articles of Immoral Use, but everyone refers to it as the Comstock Act. It was passed in 1873, and I am just reading that from Britannica because it's Britannica. And also, Britannica updated to cover recent developments with the Comstock Act. And so you're like, wait a minute, this is like a fucking 150-year-old law. Morgan, are you going to try and tell me that they're using this law today in the year of our Dark Lord of the Sith, 2024? And I am here to tell you, yes, they are. And Project 2025 mentions bringing back the good old Comstock Act. And so basically, over the years, it turns out the suppression of lewd materials and the suppression of information is a suppression of free speech. And we have like this thing called the First Amendment. You may have heard of it from people who don't know what it means, like one Elon Musk.
Do you mind if I do a reading of the text of the parent federal law?
I would love you to.
Okay.
So I can take a big drink of this iced tea while you do it.
Oh, excuse me. So this is the original Section 211 enacted in 1873 of the Federal Criminal Code, considered to be the parent of all the Comstock laws, reads as follows. Every obscene, lewd, or lascivious, and every filthy book, pamphlet, picture, paper, letter, writing, print, or other publication of indecent character, and every article or thing designed, adapted, or intended for preventing conception or producing abortion, or in a manner calculated to lead another to use or apply it for preventing conception or producing abortion. Sorry. My bad. I fucked up. for any indecent or immoral purpose in every written or printed card, letter, circular, book, pamphlet, advertisement, or notice of any kind giving information directly or indirectly where or how or of whom or by what means any of the hereinbefore mentioned matters, articles of things that may be obtained or made, or where or who by whom any act or operation of any kind for the procuring or producing of abortion will be done or performed, or how or by what means conception may be prevented or abortion may be produced, whether sealed or unsealed, and every letter, packet, or package, or or other mailed matter containing any filthy, vile, or indecent thing, device, or substance. Talking about dildos here. Every paper, writing, advertisement, or representation that any article, instrument, substance, drug, medicine, or thing may be or can be used or applied for preventing conception or producing abortion or for any indecent or moral purpose. What does that mean? Who fucking knows? Anyway,
so you have one thing wrong, Dane. I'm going to call you out on.
Okay.
This guy, Anthony Comstock, born in Connecticut, died in New York, fought for the Union Army. Your Southern accent is wrong. This was not a Southerner.
But I mean, he's much more. It's much more fun that way, right? Like,
That's that. I respect your commitment to the fun, but for the audience, I think it's important to know that religious bigots don't just live in the South. They're an American problem. Well, as far as American problems go, they're an American problem. They're a worldwide problem. We can talk about religious bigots everywhere.
I'm no big city lawyer, but
there it is.
But I know a dildonic device when I see one.
A dildonic device. Oh, God. All right, I'm gonna just. I have the vapors.
The goddamn language used there it's like legitimately upsetting trying to read it, because you're like, it just said these 17 words in a row like 2 lines ago. Why is it doing it again? You know what I mean?
Because they just love to repeat them, right? Like they're paid by the word or something. They have to be, right? Like they just. Well, I think what it is they want to sound very official, but like they don't want to define what that is.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what it means. So they're just going to use these words that mean this. They're just going to use a bunch of synonyms, and they're going to use them over and over again. Because it's bad, and they know it, and they know it because it's bad. And it's bad because it's bad because they know it's bad.
Right. And they don't know, they'll know it when they see it, you know, which means which leaves it open to anything that they happen to come upon or become aware of the existence of that just kind of makes them go, ugh.
Right. Now this said, on a complete aside, now I think we need to launch a FAPcast brand big city lawyer dildo. I think that's what I think the audience wants it. All right,
okay.
Everyone in the chat, let me know if you want Dane and I to start a dildo business.
Big city lawyer dildos.
Right.
Now, I'm no big city lawyer, but my lawyer is in a big city, and he recommended these dildos. I don't know.
Why does the government hate dildos, Julia?
Sounds like the setup for a joke.
It does. Yes. Well, Dane, you've got your merchandising. You want your Patreon to kick off. Say if you hit a Patreon, go, we will do dildos, and then I will have to ask someone how we do dildos.
I mean, really, that's
Screwface got it in one.
Yeah, having women having the agency and ability to like do anything about their sexuality that doesn't, you know, involve or require a man is like, oh no, you know.
Screwface, while you're in the gutter getting your mind, can you grab mine too? I think it's down there somewhere. Maybe by that clown from what's it called?
Yeah, they hate fleshlights too. No, I bet they don't hate them as much. I don't think they do.
I know a guy who has a fleshlight and very much hates the idea of women pleasuring themselves. So sometimes they're just actual dildos.
Well, I mean, so in the initiative server there, I'd said the other day that I was thinking about stuff that I could do eventually, you know, aside from this content that I've done so far, and like one thing I was thinking I'd like to do is like talk about music that I like and like lyrics and songs and kind of analyze that the same way, like I like to analyze story and character, but I like to analyze lyrics and stuff too.
Sure.
And so Pillar of Garbage responded to that and said, actual Fantano. And I was like, well, there's either that or I just start a new channel discussing kink and I'll be actual femdom. Which
that'd be a little appropriative, Dane. You are neither femme nor dom. Well, I don't know if you're a dom, but you're not a femme. So,
but am I into femdom is the question.
Am
I into
you know what?
being
That's fair. If you're
domed
gonna
by
rate femdoms, then actual femdom makes sense. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
I'm just saying, if I who knows? Who knows?
I would not.
Anyway,
we all know.
A lot of mileage here. Yeah. Give me dildos or give me death.
Yeah. This show is prohibited by the Comstock Act, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it really is. I'm glad we're getting some laughs out because it's gonna get real stupid next week. Promise you.
No, it's gonna get more stupid today. So.
Oh, okay. Let's go. Let's get stupid.
So.
Hey! No kink shaming here, sir. Okay, none of that. Anyway, my bad. Go ahead.
All right, where was I? I lost my train of thought. We went on a whole dildo tangent. So, and yeah, enough about that. So, this fucker. And so, fun fact about this guy that I learned refreshing myself on his entry on Britannica is that I knew he worked as a special agent of the U.S. Post Office to observe and like investigate obscene material. I did not know he did it for free. This dumb motherfucker. I will be the fucking dildo inspector in chief. I will burn smutty letters. But I will do it for free.
Are we sure that he wasn't just like into this shit, like into like finding the lewd stuff and just like running off into the bathroom with it real quick or something and
I don't know that. That said, if I got in my time machine down in the laundry room and went back and like checked in on him, I would not be surprised if that were the case.
I'm talking about like J. Edgar Hoover type hypocrisy going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you think there's no gay or trans people at the FBI, just ask J. Edgar Hoover. He'll know. That guy loved fucking dresses. Let me tell you something.
He loved dressing up like a woman. There's nothing actually even wrong with that. It's just that he was also like, going after communists and leftists and stuff that, like, making the same kinds of claims about them being, degenerates and shit like that. And it's like, hold on.
Yeah, like
you're wearing fishnets right now.
What's on you? Stand up from behind your desk. Are you wearing heels? You're wearing heels again, aren't you, Jay?
By the way, you guys heard about that in Texas recently, right? That like Pornhub no longer distributes porn to Texas, which is like
Pornhub pulled out of like 13 states or something now.
Oh, Pornhub knows how to pull out. No, they do.
True, they do because they have never gotten anyone pregnant,
and they're very good with the money shot. They know what they're doing. So
yeah.
But no, that's crazy. Like it's. I guess that they just feel like. I mean, they must be making good money, right? That there's like, whatever, we need to be in these 13 states.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't know how much it affects their business anyways, because like VPNs are a thing. And you can, if you are that down for porn, right, you will find porn.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots and lots. Like, here's a fact that I'm just making up. 97% of the internet is porn. So like, there's plenty of it.
Actually, it's funny, since these bans, that's up from 96%.
But I mean, yeah, there's so many other sites. That's just the one that's like the most memeable and recognizable, branding basically of porn sites. Believe me, I know there's a lot of them.
There's a lot. Like here is my experience with porn. I'm not a porn person. I don't really care about porn.
Yeah,
never been my thing. I went to a good Christian high school.
Mm-hmm.
and what this meant was that like the gym teacher was handing out porn. And so like, you know, they talk about like, oh, they're putting porn in schools to trans the kids, and like, no, they just fucking give that shit out. Like, just fucking straight het porn. Like, at any fucking high school in the country, you can get it. And you've been able to get it to, you know, longer than before I was in high school, and probably longer before when Dane was in high school. Like, fucking people want porn. If the people are just into that shit, who fucking cares?
If you want it bad enough, you're gonna get it.
You're
Like when
gonna get
I in the mid-late 90s, whenever I first kind of like discovered porn, and I wanted it bad enough, I would use all of the leftover hours on an AOL disk to you know, download a picture that would take all day.
Right.
You know.
Right. And that whole, yeah, like they would, what would happen is like somehow a Playboy would make its way into like from one of the sports teams into like the head gym teacher's office, because there was a photocopier in there, and then they would run fucking copies from the Playboy or the Hustler, and they would just like fucking float around the school.
Well, like there's a common thing that I've talked to several people. I've seen like people talking about it on different TV shows and stuff, that like it's just, there used to be a box of porn in the woods. You know, back in the day, like somebody was always stashing a box of porn in the woods, you know, and somebody would either find it, or they knew it was their brothers that hid it there or something like that, because they didn't want to keep it in the house, right? Because they live with parents or whatever. But they would go stash that box of porn in like a log in the woods, and it was just an incredibly common thing for boys to have experienced a box of porn in the woods at some point.
Could you pull up Byron's comment?
Byron's comment. Boom.
Boom. Thank you. So as far as the Comstock Act is concerned, yes, sex ed and anatomy textbooks were lewd materials, and their transmission through common carriers in the mail was prohibited.
And somebody recently has been conflating these two things as well.
Who I wonder if we just did a whole episode about some lady who was cursed to die alone by the Greek gods. I wonder if we talked about that. Married with Children. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
This show is ahead of time.
But yeah, so over time, the Comstock Act was sort of pulled back because it violates free speech and violates common sense with things like fucking educational textbooks on anatomy, right? Like, we need that. We need that. That's helpful. We're doing a science here, folks. So over time, the courts have rolled that back and rolled that back and rolled that back and rolled that back some more. But then that brings us to today, or rather to late last year, when the Heritage Foundation and their other lackeys put out Project 2025. And it is mentioned in Project 2025 they would like to start enforcing the Comstock Act again.
A lot of stuff is mentioned in there. There's 920 pages.
Yeah, it is a thick document. And here's the interesting part. Well, we're going to save it from when we actually talk about it, because otherwise I'm going to go on a tangent. And I'm trying to preserve Dane's sanity today, and we've already started the actual dildo company, so...
That's what's keeping me going at this point.
Oh, okay. Do you have an actual dildo in you right now? Is that what's keeping you?
You know,
why you're not on camera? I see how it's going.
Gentleman never tells.
A gentleman never tells. That's fair. That's very true. So, but at the Supreme Court just this fucking week, Sam Alito and Clarence Thomas, of course, were asking questions about the Comstock Act in the mifepristone case. For those who don't know, mifepristone is a abortion drug that you can get via the mail. You have been able to since the year 2000. So, like a quarter century now. So, yeah. It turns out that, and this is how, so for those who don't know how the Supreme Court works, especially when you're talking about these conservative cases. So with this case, the people suing to get mifepristone blocked or prohibited by the government, suing the FDA, are doing so. They are like a group of dentists, I believe. And they pick this core in Texas that they all seem to pick This has been responsible for this is, I believe, where the Biden student loan plan was first challenged. There's been a few birth control and related cases challenged in this specific court because it's a federal court, but it has one judge, and it's a Trump appointee who's a crazy person. And so they go there to just get their right-wing shit through the court.
Yep.
But higher courts will kind of stand in the way of that, and the Supreme Court will occasionally push back a little bit. And how they push back in this case is they went, well, did you bring this up? Did you bring this up? What about this? And it's a suggestion for the next time, for the next group of assholes who does this, who goes to Texas, goes to this one court, files a lawsuit. The lawsuit makes its way very quickly up the docket, which is very rare for a federal circuit court in general. And then to make its way to an appeals court very quickly, also very unusual because some cases there take fucking years to go to trial. Because our courts are backed up. Because we don't appoint enough judges and we don't expand the federal bench. And corporations take up. I'm going to get off my soapbox here. I could go all into this, folks.
You know what I just noticed?
What's that?
We are streaming at the same time as Demon Mama and Dead Domain doing their trans day of visibility. So
you're just transing YouTube.
I don't know. I just think it's funny that we're dwarfed at 28. That's not actually that bad.
That's not bad. No.
Okay.
We've had lower attendance before. I know we've had higher lately, but we're also streaming next to other content creators, so I'm not super shocked. But really, they're streaming and we're streaming because I don't think they normally stream today.
Yeah, I don't think that right now anyway.
Yeah, I think they are on our turf. They should.
Why don't they recognize? They should have some respect for us. You know what I mean? We're the FAP cast. And they know that. They have to know that, right?
They must. This is very clearly transphobia that these other trans creators aren't going to share.
I know at one point Dead Domain was a fan of my channel. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that she's a little bit too busy these days and probably not watching.
Yeah, they're a popular figure. They were having fun this week though. I don't know that they're gender fluid, but they change their pronouns on Twitter all the time.
Oh.
And because Matt Walsh went after them this week, they were having fun just changing their pronouns every day or so.
Yeah.
And watching the transphobes try and that meme where it's the woman staring at all the math. It was that meme. We're how do we insult them? Because yeah.
Because I'm okay with all of it, basically.
Yeah, it's joke's on you.
I'm invincible. Your pronoun insults are pervious.
Right. Well, it's when I've had interactions with people who are trying to misgender me, but I'm gender fluid and I don't care. It's well, sir, and I'm okay. Anyways, Can I have my coffee now?
All right, lady. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We take it all here.
Have I shown? I think it was on our show that I showed this quick thing that I'd gotten it off of basically Right Wing Watch YouTube channel where these guys on this Christian nationalism show basically.
I don't know that I've seen that one.
It's it's only tangentially related to this, but it's definitely related, and it's just really funny how it plays out. But it's only let's see, about a minute and 15, something like that.
Themselves to be ruled politically by those who ignore the godly biblical foundation of our great country. It's time that Christ followers get politically active and bring the kingdom down to earth, especially in all 570,000 plus elected offices in this country. It's time for you to get involved. Faith Wins is dedicated to engaging pastors, congregations, and Christians in the public.
So you hear that? You hear how he knows exactly how many, or almost exactly how many elected offices there are in this country. These guys are they have very specific ideas in mind for what they want to do with the country.
Fascism. What they want to do is called fascism.
It's fascism, yeah. Christian nationalism, theocracy. Any one of these would do.
Right, but they're all I think in the past you could do Christian nationalism without a theocracy or without fascism, but I think today how you would motivate people to go along with that is fascism.
True.
You're not gonna carve out Italy to have a little theocracy in the middle of it today, right? Like you would have to use a form of fascism to convince people that all these minorities are fucking things up for you specifically, and please don't ignore our investors.
Yeah, let's
I like no one should put like Matt Walsh's name next to Wolverines. That's not okay.
Not good at all. I mean,
Like,
honestly, not even cool to put it next to Hugh Jackman.
No,
Really.
like neither Hugh Jackman or Wolverine are noted child genital enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Neither of them have ever gone on long tears about the genitals of children like Matt Walsh has. Matt loves more than anything, probably more than his wife, loves talking about the genitals of
He
children.
loves it. It's his favorite shit. I mean, he made it his livelihood to talk
He
about
does, right. He makes his money talking about kids' fucking genitals.
And then, I would go so far as to say that Wolverine tends to be a friend of young people. He kind of sees like his childhood self in young people, and he feels a protective urge over them. You know what I mean?
He's very protective. He makes sure they're okay. He trains them how to kill their enemies.
Yep.
He's a very caring gentleman.
And I think he would probably eviscerate Matt Walsh if given the chance.
I think that like he would definitely give him a good scare, like do the 2-claw thing where like you put it next to
The third
his
one
head,
starts to come out, yeah.
and the middle one sort of peeks out,
Mm-hmm.
just the tip.
Like he did on the cover of Follow the House of X #3, and like he did to Roberto in the first episode of X-Men '97.
Yep. We have to talk about Rise of the Powers of 10 this week because Professor X is on my shit list. Have you read that
I knew
yet?
it was like, yeah, I read it yesterday. Finally, it took me a while
on my
to.
shit list.
I mean, I want to know what his plan is. I guess. I mean, is it wrong that I don't want to judge him yet? Is it wrong?
I mean, to me, but like I'm a big fangirl, so.
I mean, so like, yeah, okay, but I mean, at the same time, it's like you got to resurrect the Phoenix. Then, like, I mean, it's kind of obvious what's got to happen, right?
There's only one living host around right now because Quentin's head's in a jar, and
as far as they know, Jean Grey is like bleeding out and not able, like she's in a bad way.
She's bleeding out in the White Hot room.
Right. You'd think that if it was going to happen, it would have happened already there.
Like, Emma hasn't been a Phoenix host except for, was she in Avengers vs. X-Men? Was she one of the 5?
No, wait, was she? I forget.
I'm trying to remember. It was Magic,
Colossus, Namor,
Colossus,
Magic, Cyclops, and
2 others.
I think it was Emma was one of them, because I remember that like her and Scott were the last ones kind of standing, and they kind of
and her powers were like still weird afterwards for a while. Yeah, so
once he turned on her, it was like, oh shit, he's gone. Like he's Dark Cyclops now, you know?
Right. And then like Hope could be a Phoenix host. She's done it before, but she's in the White Hot room too.
Hope was not the 5th of the 5. Hope did become the Phoenix.
She becomes the Phoenix briefly at the end, and then sends it away.
Mm-hmm.
Which was like, Namor was the other one. Okay, that's everyone forgets Namor, me included. Hi, I forgot Namor.
The Wakandans don't forget because he kind of
no, they do not.
He kind of drowned him.
Yeah. So what's funny about Avengers vs. X-Men is how that ends. Or are you just gonna talk X-Men now? Because I can talk X-Men now.
I mean, we can. I wanted to get this clip done, but we could.
Sure. Do the clip first, then I wanna complain about it.
Yeah, gather your X thoughts, and then we'll come back to them.
Public arena. Why? Because the influence of Christians needs to be felt around the country. We are good for this country. There are 80 million eligible voters in the Christian community, but only 30 million participate on a regular basis. In 2024, this needs to change by the millions, by the tens of millions. And Chad Conley's going to tell you why in just a minute. I'm Jim Brangenberg. Check us out online at faithwins.org.
Here we go.
Faithwins.org. Chad Conley, welcome back to the Faith Wins podcast.
Hey, my brother. What's up, man? Appreciate you a lot.
So I want to talk a little bit about some of the attacks on you and some of the things that are attacks on generally on the Christian population in this country. What is Christian nationalism?
So yeah, the name of the video upload was titled "All That Stuff You Just Said," basically, or something like that.
Yeah.
That everything you said before you asked that question, yeah, just see that.
Yeah, see the thing you just were saying. That was Chris. You just. I'm going to explain to you, Dane, what the X-Men are, and then I'm going to have you tell me what the X-Men are. How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. So yeah, go
See,
for
Julia,
it.
now you and I are going to have to fight. Them's fighting words, Jules.
Sue doesn't even like him like that. You know, that's a
Yeah,
misunderstanding.
like don't be fucking weird.
She's leveraged it in their favor when necessary a couple times, but she's never. I mean, like really, it's never. You know, the whole meme of like, name her cucks, Reed Richard. No, it's literally never happened. They've never had sex. Not in 616 continuity anyway. They never hooked up. It's just name her as this. He's a spoiled, entitled prince boy, and he wants it to happen. And he thinks just by wanting
I figured it out. Dana, I figured it out because in the comics, unlike in the MCU, Namor is kind of white coated. So when they ask about having a, where's our white Black Panther? We already have Namor.
Yeah.
Thanks, we've already got one.
Yeah, they hooked up in non-continuity stuff, sure. Of course.
In a what if, yeah. Well, a what if is a different timeline. And if there's a timeline they get together and they're, he's in a better place, I'm fine with that. Like there can be a well-adjusted Namor. And not some weird stalker dude, like stalker fish guy. That's not,
So yeah, I mean I guess I don't know if was Professor X really ready to spoilers, by the way, for Rise of the Powers of X number 3.
Yeah, so we're gonna do our X FAP for the year of the Bob.
Did was he really gonna shoot young little Moira? I mean, I guess
I think he was.
Yeah. I
think you don't build a place outside of time and space and track her down through the timeline.
Yeah.
If you're not gonna pull that trigger.
No, let me ask this. Do you think it would have been inherently wrong for him to do so? Given all of the things,
Well, okay, so I would have to go back and read exactly because she knew he was Charles Xavier when he got there.
Yeah.
So she already has all of her past life memories.
She had 9 lives at that point and behind her, and this was her 10th. Yeah.
Right. So she already she just doesn't know what the current living Sentinel Omega or Sentinel Moira knows. But she knows everything else. Right.
She knows everything. She the only thing she knows is where she was at that point was at the start, the onset of her powers in that life cycle, her 10th life, which is what she would have done next was go about planning for meeting gets a little older, goes and meets Xavier and Magneto and talks to them about Krakoa and then the AI and everything and how this is what we had. This is the only thing that can possibly work. And that would have been the House of X Powers of 10.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that he would have done it. I think that because that isn't fully grown up. She doesn't have Moira 10's memories yet.
But at that, you got to think of what she'd already done at that point. She's already
done a lot of fucked up shit at that point, and
and he was right when he says
correctly. I think in Inferno, it gets revealed that her whole plan for Krakoa was to just slowly wipe out the mutants anyways.
I don't know if that was the case.
Slowly depower them through resurrection cycles and stuff. I thought there was something in Inferno. That's one of the reasons why.
I'll have to check it out.
I would have to reread Inferno because it's been a minute, and I kind of flew through it when I read it.
Yeah, it is kind of a lot happens in a short amount of time in that.
Yeah, it's kind of a dense event.
Yeah,
I don't think it's the same as killing a child, right? Because very clearly she is not a normal child. She's a child.
It's not even the same as killing an adult because it's this has been an adult 9 times already.
Right. So she's some kind of eldritch horror in a child-shaped vessel. Because she her powers are genuinely horrifying, right? She is born remembering her past lives. And because of Destiny, she knows what the count is, right? She knows how many loops she gets. Because Destiny tells her in one of the timelines, you're going to get 10 or 11.
10, maybe 11 if you make the right choices.
Right. So I don't think he is. I don't know that he's right or wrong, but I see how he gets there, and I don't think it's the same as Professor Professor X is going to kill a child. No, he's going to kill an eldritch horror that looks like one.
Well, the thing that he does say that like is true is he's like, this was never about, because she's like, I'm a mutant, blah blah blah, and he's like, I just want peace and or whatever, and he's like, it was never about you being a mutant. It was about saving your own skin, which is true.
Right. Which is true
because it took her 10 times to finally go, maybe I need to use this experience I've got to push for like, some kind of peace and harmony with with mutants getting together kind of thing. And it's like, you've already tried hooking up with Apocalypse,
and not like modern Apocalypse, not Krakoan era Apocalypse, where he's like not necessarily mellowed out, but like has like, okay, well, Charles and Magneto have something cooking here.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna let them cook. Like fucking kill them all, Apocalypse.
Yeah. So you're reading this like this literal issue or like the Fall of House of X, or are you talking about Inferno you're reading? That doesn't apply to this, Julia. That's not part of what's happening at all. So
yeah, I mean, I guess that's what Professor X was trying to do, right? Is to if he boops her around the snoot, when she's a child, that is the end of her timeline.
Yeah, that's also that. See, this is where like I'm relieved because, and this is why I'm so like, I'm fine with like what he did, because the main thing that I took from it is that they are not, at least seemingly at this point, going to erase the entire
right.
timeline.
If they were going to erase the timeline, this is how you would do it.
They've been threatening it since the start of this, and I was like, oh man, because the one thing that will cause me to reject this new iteration of X-Men, and I didn't believe that they would really do it. I just have a hard time believing they would do it. Is everyone just forgetting or not actually even happening to everyone, right? Like the Krakoan nation never was built, and nobody has, maybe like one mutant has a memory of it or some shit, but like that would piss me off quite a bit. I don't want to see these characters revert to some, former characterization. I'm fine with them going into a new status quo and carrying with them what they've experienced.
Well, it looks like they are, because like very clearly, like Juggernaut looks like he is carrying forward his characterization, which is great. I'm very happy about that. It looks like Magneto's going to be in some kind of important role. Now that he's
I was
resurrected.
thinking, is that Magneto?
It might not be.
Yeah, it might not be. And is the Prisoner X that we saw in the trailer for From the Ashes, is that Professor X? Is he also Traitor X that the solicits refer to in this ongoing story right now?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that what just happened? You know what I mean? Where basically he teamed up with Sinister again, like as if he doesn't learn anything.
You know who Prisoner X might be, because this is a character we have not seen in the Krakoa era at all.
Huh.
Nate Gray.
Oh.
We haven't seen Nate Gray.
Well, in Prisoner X, the last time that phrase was used was one of the Age of X-Man books that was coming out. Prisoner X was actually Bishop, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
So like context. That's my rogue pick is like it's X-Man, because we haven't had Nate Gray in a couple of years, and like if there's a mutant that you want to like a more obscure mutant that you want to use that you haven't used in a while, and is the kind of guy you want to lock in like a super secret facility, it's that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I just like, but he's the kind of thing that if you're going to use him, you're probably going to center a lot of the story around him too.
Yeah,
which can work, I suppose. Did you ever read that story right before the end of
I haven't had a chance to yet. I have it downloaded on my iPad. I
just curious. I mean, whenever you read it, what you think of it, because it's definitely got a cool vibe to it, in the sense that like it's literally the end of all of the shit that has gone on, and there's like this real backs against the wall, the last few mutants, like we're basically already dead already, but we're going to keep fighting anyway kind of vibe. And I don't know, it's kind of cool, especially knowing that the Krakoa is just right around the corner.
Right.
You can take a little comfort in that being that doomery feeling.
Right.
And then just not to mention Wolverine and Cyclops just coming back together. Oh my God.
The return of the bromance.
Yeah. They just like, like it never really left. You know what I mean? There's not really any apologies or anything. It's just like, yeah, oh, you're alive again too. oh shit, I guess it's just us. We got to do the
just
thing,
us, let's
right?
do it.
You know,
Punch in. I guess that kind of, because I will say, like, coming back to X-Men with the Krakoa era after several years of not reading it, and like him and Wolverine are buddy again. I'm like, that's out of nowhere. But I guess it was kind of set up in this other story, but that happened before it, where they kind of move on, and then they're a little more than buddy in Krakoa, as it were.
Well, so an interesting thing about how that all wraps up, by the way, and this is something I haven't seen really talked about. So Magneto, if you've read Resurrection of Magneto so far, is just he's just been resurrected. Spoiler for the title of the book.
Yeah, the Resurrection of Magneto is about Czech's notes. The resurrection of
it did not lie. I'll say that.
Yeah,
it did not lie. It did not false advertise that he did. He came back and he's in the body of a fucking fit young man.
Yeah.
And men call him Magneto, and women and other men too also just call him Daddy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so but there's this thing that's like, I don't know if they're going to pick up on this, but at the end of the Age of X-Men, there was one character who kind of partly, like half of him or like a piece of him stayed there in this reality, because that reality still technically exists.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting.
How it all wraps up is they finally get X-Man to, Nate Gray to realize, like, you can't just, because like he ultimately he does want what's good for, he wants mutants to be at peace. Right. He wants, he doesn't want violence. He wants, it's kind of tragic in a way, because he's from the timeline he's from, the Age of Apocalypse. He's in his mind, why would you not mind giving up art and certain expressions of love and stuff like that, as long if that meant, like, basically emotions and emotionality is frowned upon, to say the least, in his world. And it's a very it's a very, like, kind of an authoritarian type state,
right? Well, and I think he's sort of an immature character, right? And like when he's been in a book with Cable before, like, because they're kind of the same person in a lot of ways, right? There is a sort of nature versus nurture in their storytelling around them. Because they're both the son of Scott Summers, and they're the son of some form of Jean Grey's genetics,
grown by Sinister in a vat,
right?
Kind of thing. And he's what Cable would be if Cable wasn't, if his powers weren't constantly busy keeping the TK virus, TO virus, in check. So he's super duper powerful. Can literally rewrite reality.
And like, his mom can do that if she's got the Phoenix around at that time, but like he can just fucking do that. But like that he's always had this kind of like lack of maturity, that like, because he came from this hell pit and he's a science experiment. It's just like, I just want people to be chill and not feel anything, because I've never grappled with my own feelings.
And he's not, you're absolutely right about him being kind of child-minded in a way, and he's also got all that power that makes it to where, like, that's a bad combination, and basically that's what the storyline is. The Age of X-Men is what would likely happen with a character like that, who's got a very, in a naive mentality, but he does want what's best for mutants. He's not an evil guy. He just is like, this makes the most sense to me. And he literally creates but like,
well, I wonder, to sort of like tie in X-Men storytelling over the years, I wonder if that's why Cable went through a lot of effort to like make sure Hope has a parent, and make sure Hope can like be around other people and adjust and have some level of like human interaction, that isn't just like the hell pit. Because she's that kind of mutant too. Like, her power is your power, and she's crazy powerful. But like, she's pretty well adjusted, and I think that's Cable going, well, my idiot brother, who has all of my cosmic nonsense, but no limitations and no maturity, is kind of a habitual fuck up. I should teach this cosmically powered being to just like think it through.
Yeah. So, much like the Age of Apocalypse, because it's definitely a kind of inversion of the Age of Apocalypse, the Age of X-Men. It's like, you get all the books got quote unquote canceled. and then they start with these new ones and stuff. And so, like, you want to talk about Apocalypse having a interesting characterization. That's a different take. In this one, he was the leader of like this hippie movement.
Oh my God! What the fuck?
Yeah.
What the cinnamon toast fuck is going on?
You've got Dazzler here. You've got Kitty Pryde. You've got what's his name? Evan Apocalypse.
Is it Evan? Okay.
And then iBoy, and then this chick, I forget what her name is, but I think it was her first appearance was in this timeline.
Oh, okay.
Where she can like, I don't remember
miss
exactly.
iBoy.
Yeah.
We need more iBoy. Where's fucking iBoy in Rise from the Ashes?
It's pretty cool. I mean, he looks like he looks like the kind of character that would have like a lame power set, but he's actually got a really good one.
It's really, yeah. It just looks kind of weird.
He's got all, you can see all the visual spectrums and stuff. But yeah, so like Magneto is the guy who gets, he stays behind, like part of him anyway. And I think it's I'd have to read it again exactly how it describes it, but basically when everybody else is leaving to go back to the regular world, and this is the world that at the same time Cyclops and Wolverine have come back to life, having been dead for a while, each of them.
Right.
Now they both come back right whenever all these X-Men disappear, and the world just presumes all the X-Men are dead.
Right.
And so it's just them, and then like a few, random scragglers, like Blindfold is out there. Just a few people. That's where Juggernaut kind of like joins up with them at that point too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then. Anyway, but like, yeah, Magneto being, because it seems like no matter what timeline you were talking about, if Professor X is not the one in charge, then Magneto is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's another one of those. And he actually really likes it there. He really likes the situation because in a way it's almost everything he's ever wanted. Right?
Yeah.
Like the mutants are they're the superheroes, they're the government, they're the police, they're the just like the cultural heroes as well.
Right. It's everything he's ever dreamed of.
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
The whole like shoulder cape thing is a badass look for him too, I'm not gonna lie.
It is, and I like the beard, he's wizened old man look, right? And then of course Nate Gray looking just like Jesus.
Basically. Right. I mean, because he's basically mutant Jesus, right? Like him and Cable both.
And Hope.
And Hope is also mutant Jesus.
There was the Extremists. So the titles were The Extremists, which was written by Lee Williams.
Cool.
What else? There was Marvelous X-Men. There was Prisoner X. There was the Amazing Nightcrawler, I think. Let's see what it was called. Got the reading order here on Comic Book Herald. So yeah, Road to Age of X-Men. X-Men Disassembled is a storyline that starts it.
Okay.
Following the Avengers of X-Men Extermination, which is also a pretty good one too. That's the one where all the original 5 go home.
Right.
There's a lot of like cleaning house and table setting happening right there at the end that I think is worth reading if you like the Kurt Cohen era at all, anybody. And you want to kind of just see where was everybody at right before that. There's some pretty good storytelling that happens in these couple of arcs. Just some fun stuff anyway. It's at least finality in a lot of ways because there's just so much spinning of wheels in the fucking X-Men books for a lot of years prior to this.
I mean, like I stopped. What was the event where like a bunch of future X-Men show up? To like try and get the kids to go back, and then it was some evil plot by like somebody.
It was like
who the villain was revealed to be.
What was that the one with Wolverine's son with Mystique?
Yeah,
I have that. It's like
that's right. I'm just like I'm fucking done with this.
It really is like just like superfluous and like, oh my god, this is just a remix of shit we've seen a billion times already.
Right. And like a worse remix, right? Like it does nothing. Because, like, I mean, comics kind of tell the same story and over again, right?
True.
That's just how humans tell stories. But, like, sometimes sometimes it's just as good, right? Sometimes, like, you hit it note for note. sometimes you elevate it or subvert it or do something different, and sometimes it's a bad photocopy. And it felt like that was a bad photocopy of like several other better X-Men stories. And I'm just like,
I'm gonna go grab the book real quick. I'll be right back.
All right, I'm gonna water my plant. Water in the plant. Gotta water my plant right now. Water in the plant. Plants like water. Hey, Michael, how you doing? I hope you are well as well. And I am doing fine.
So I don't remember if it was this one or not, or if this is a different one that same character showed up in. So was it an original graphic novel that you read?
No, I think it was in floppies.
Okay. So this was when during the this is when they were still split. Like there's a schism. So a Cyclops is still wearing the X on his face. He's still
it was still during that time period. Yeah.
It's called No More Humans is the story.
Oh, I don't know that was it.
So I think this might be the first time that.
So they ran that bit a few times then.
Well, so this is called. I might be mistaken because there's the one where they're coming back from the future to try and take the kids to the future with them or whatever. But then there's also this one I think is just different. So what this is it's called No More Humans, and it literally they wake up one day basically, and all of the non-mutants are just gone from Earth. And and it's like kind of a thing of like, okay, so what would you do in this situation, mutants? You know what I mean? Like here's basically
it was Battle of the Atom.
That's it. Battle of the Atom. I got that one too. Yeah.
I that's where I gave up. I'm just like, I think I'm
Fair
done
enough.
with X-Men, like because it was bad.
So this is I guess they just picked up what's the name of that stupid, I don't like that character and I hope it never comes back. The Wolverine and Mystique kid, the blue.
Oh, let me check. Did I close the tab like a dummy?
He is Raza or something, Reza or some shit.
Oh my god.
What's his name? And it's just like, oh, look, I'm Wolverine and Mystique's kid, and they're both just like, oh, that's crazy.
That's weird.
No. And then that's it. There's like nothing really important about it.
Ray's Darkholm.
Yeah,
who is this? And that team also has Charles Xavier II, who is the son of Chuck and Mystique.
Right. Wait, no, Chuck and Mystique. I thought it was Chuck and was Mystique really?
That's what Wikipedia says. I'm not going to go back and read it.
Yeah, because I mean, it is exciting right at first whenever they show up because you're like, oh my god, what is this team? And then like Zorn ends up being Jean Grey.
Yep, she's the time to displace Jean Grey grown up in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like she's mind controlling them all or something, or I forget.
Some kind of dumb shit. I mean, Reyes is just an asshole too.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you not be? But yeah. There's some cool stuff within there, but like generally it does just feel so. Okay, so like then you imagine, can you cast your minds back to if you were paying attention to all that stuff and you're just like, oh man, this feels like you love X-Men and you always want the X-Men to be good and you keep getting, oh, they're doing a new thing. Oh, this reminds me of something they've done before, but I'll give it a shot. And then you're just like, I don't know, man, this is not very exciting, right? And then suddenly something happens and it feels different. There's something different about this vibe, this announcement, this vibe. For one thing, it's got Jonathan Hickman attached to it.
Now, I didn't like Jonathan Hickman before this. Like, I didn't like Secret Wars. I didn't like his Avengers run.
You didn't like Secret Wars? How the hell are you the co-host of my podcast? How did that get by me?
We've talked about that. I don't like Secret Wars.
I know. But then like this is the first image that was released. It was like,
right.
And the wording that they were using was like literally not. It didn't seem like they were blowing smoke for some reason. There's a combination of all of the solicits and then this and Jonathan. I was like, wait a second, this is fucking something's weird here. This might be actually different. Right. Yeah.
Well, and it's like I think when I saw it, I'm like, well, this is really a mix of like eras of costume because you have like kind of like a version of the original Jean Grey Marvel girl suit. You've got Wolverine in the brown and yellow. You've got this like late 2000s era Magneto, and then this sci-fi looking fucking Charles.
Which, of course, with Jonathan Hickman involved, you're like, Maker?
Right.
You know? I think that was most everybody. It turns
That's
out,
a lot of people thought, yeah.
I think Jonathan Hickman just likes weird-looking, scrawny dudes in black tights with a big helmet or
Fucking
something.
chunky helmet, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a thing for that. I didn't start reading it for a while until people were like, "Oh no, you got to check this out. This shit's crazy." And I'm like, I don't know, this guy's kind of let me down before, and
I was
got it right once.
Yeah, I mean, I was on board from the start. Like, basically the announcement, I was like, I think this is going to be the thing, and I was not wrong. It was actually more the thing than I could have anticipated.
I think with the thing that with Secret Empire, I think more than anything that kind of threw me off of it was that like
Secret Wars or
Secret Wars. Yeah, I don't know why I keep saying Secret Empire. That's a whole different event book. That was fine. We talked about that on the show. Is that every book I was reading just kind of ends in the middle, and then just transitions to Secret Wars. Like everything kind of went away, and it was all like Deadpool went away, and then it was about Deadpool's wife. When he was married to the vampire queen.
Oh yeah.
And Thor became Thor Core. The last issue of Loki and his partner, like he opens a door and is just like, we're just gonna skip this event, and the door closes behind him and the universe disappears. Which is a cool like way to handle it, but like I'm just like, oh, so this series is over now. So it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's weird that went like that because Hickman was building up to it for over a year in the Avengers and stuff. Like,
yeah, I know he was, but it was just like how the rest of like editorial didn't handle that in a good way, and so books just kind of ended in weird places, and I wasn't down for that.
Well, I
because
mean,
the
look,
Deadpool and the man appears.
We don't like talk about it as we do it. It's just assumed, you know. We're not savages here.
Well, I mean, Gong, you missed the whole earlier segment. Like, you missed it. You're late. We talked about that. Why are you late?
You know, I just reread March on Ultimatum and Ultimatum because every like, I don't know, so many years I need to do that to myself for some reason.
Do you hate yourself?
It's fucking bizarre is what it is. And like, it's, you know, it took me a long time to figure out why it is what it is. And I think it's that what's his name? Goddamn, who wrote it? Dickhead. What's his name? Shit.
I don't remember who wrote it actually. I'm like, that sucked. I don't want to think about it ever again. Yeah, when Kitty was Star-Lord or when she was with the Guardians, that was cool. I don't remember her being Star-Lord. Was it Jeff Loeb?
Jeff Loeb, yes.
Wow.
And
the mighty have fallen.
The reason I think it was so shitty is because Jeff Loeb had not been, you know, and this is the same thing applies to Ultimates 3. Because look, a lot of people don't like Ultimates 1 and 2, and I definitely don't like the writer, but they are kind of good in my opinion. They are kind of good. I feel like he kind of nailed what the IRL, so to speak, Avengers would be like in a way. Like, I mean, there's some stuff with the Hulk that is yikesy and shouldn't be that way. Just like the fact that he's like trying to rape everything is fucking disgusting. Why would you make it that way?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, you know, there's other stuff that I think it works okay, and namely the cinematic vibe to it that like definitely was translated into the Avengers movie. Like they it's pretty clear that they took the flow of the movie and everything and some of this more cinematic moments and just plopped that in the first Avengers film. Nonetheless, Ultimates 3, however, is a whole fucking other thing because you got Jeff Loeb comes on and I think he's like, was Gordy, leave that alone. Yeah, sorry. I think he just saw like, oh, you got Bendis is doing some cool stuff over there, getting a lot of praise, but he didn't really read it in Spider-Man.
No, he did not.
And then he goes, well, then you got fucking Mark Millar. He's an edgy guy, so he's doing edgy stuff. I gotta do some edgy stuff. This is the edgy Marvel universe, right? I'm gonna do. How about Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are fucking, and and then like Tony Stark and Scarlet and Black Widow, they have a sex tape get released,
right?
And then just like all this edgelord early 2000s bullshit.
Yeah,
happens.
and then like I forget who dies in the first issue. Is it Quicksilver? Like one of them gets a murder in like the first or second issue.
I think it's technically, it's supposed to be Scarlet Witch, I believe. Is it
okay? I just remember like getting to that point, and it's like issue 1 or 2, and I'm like, you know what? Nah, I'm good. Check, please.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man almost died in Ultimatum, only to actually die very soon after.
Very, very shortly after.
Yeah.
And like, that's one of those things that like, I actually think that like for as good as Ultimate Spider-Man was early on, I think it had started to fall off by that point.
Yeah.
I think it turns out that when you're trying to tell this like high school age Peter Parker story, that shit sells. That shit, there's only so many variations of story you can tell. And they did a lot of cool stuff with like the Ultimate Clone Saga is infinitely better than the original. Because that gave us the female clone of Peter Parker as Jessica Drew. That gave us when the Gwen Stacy clone was like the heroic Carnage for a while.
Yeah.
And that was cool. Like it's kind of like the predecessor to Spider-Woman, Gwen Stacy today was that. But then the book just kind of was spinning its wheels for a couple of years. And they didn't seem to know what to do with the characters. And then finally, like, well, what if we kill Peter Parker? What if we do a Death of Superman here?
Like the way that things wrap up in Ultimatum with Magneto, it could have I don't have a problem with how things played out, really. I just think that there was no build up to it. It was all just like, you start Ultimatum. Oh, look, the Earth's been shifted on its axis. It's Magneto. Right. Okay, now who's left alive? Well, hardly anybody that a lot of people that died you didn't even see die.
Right.
They just died off panel. And then the ones they do show is like Wasp getting eaten.
Right.
And then Giant Man kind of going, doing his big hero redemption death. Nonetheless, okay, so now the X-Men and the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, what's left of them, they all go to Magneto, and like, it sucks to see Wolverine go out the way that he goes out, because but it is tragic and dark, and like I think it could have worked, and if the story had justified it beforehand, because like Wolverine, basically the same way he did in X-Men 25, he's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just going to take this guy out. I'm tired of fucking around with this guy, Magneto. Right. You know what I mean? And he jumps at him, and rather than get his adamantium pulled out, though, what happens? He does kind of.
I remember something like that, but the edgy, deathy version.
He uses Iron Man's and other people. I don't remember who else, but he grabs like 3 different people, their weapons, and blasts Wolverine with it at the same time. Cyclops' visor, Iron Man's gauntlet, and just like blasts him until like he's just like nothing left but like just a smoldering corpse with a little bit of some fleshy bits left attached to the skeleton. And then he's like, oh, Wolverine's dead now, but then Wolverine's not dead yet, and then he kind of gets him, he stabs him through the abdomen, Wolverine does, and he's like, not yet, Bob, or some shit, and then
that's
the
secret, Bob. Every FAP cast is a trans FAP cast, because I'm here.
Who? Oh.
Bob.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, also, you do understand that like every FAP cast is also just kind of an X-FAP to a degree.
It is also, we have to talk X-Men. And like, I think with the, this, as far as the hot trans issue of the day being Trans Day of Visibility, we've addressed the non-traversy, but also I want to just be visible talking about shit I fucking enjoy. Like,
yeah, I mean, Morgan's the host today. I'm You know, I'm just.
We do
I'm
not
just
talk
here.
about the FAP. The FAPpening is going to be a whole other episode. PR. That's a
Oh
whole...
yeah, we do need to do that, I guess. Right? Is that a thing we need to do?
Probably at some point. I can do that one. That's easy.
I mean, I can too because I've got experience with it, and like that's the thing is I'm gonna have to reveal some of my some yikesy choices that I made back then.
Well, you have grown as a person, and it's nice to show that you can grow, and like you don't like cancel culture's a myth, and you can do better as a person, and it's fine.
Yeah, I just looking back, it's like, man, I was like, oh yeah, I want to see those pictures, and it's like, why did I need to see those pictures? You know, like what was wrong? Yeah, basically.
Well, I
It
know
did
a
feel like
lot
an
of
event. I mean, they literally named it. It felt like an event where you needed to, kind of be part of it or something. And I just didn't have a strong ethical framework yet back then for that type of thing to happen. So nothing in preventing me from just I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, I know a non-zero number of guys who checked it out, and it was just like, and I know a couple who asked me why, like I had no strong response to it. It's like, well, I don't know, it's a cybercrime, I don't really care. Well, but naked people, and I'm like, well, the internet has all sorts of naked people. Why do I need these naked people?
And ones who have consensually just said, I want you to see me naked public.
Right. I would like, it's just this weird, like, it's a thing with purity culture where it breeds this like desire to see the forbidden, and the more forbidden it is, the more you want to see it.
Yeah.
And this is why you look where, before these states have had harsher laws on pornography, and even the ones that still do, like the types of porn they're looking up there, trans porn is very popular in anti-trans states. And this is why, is that they are the more something is forbidden and taboo, the more people want to wank to it.
Yep. And that's pretty damn frustrating, because it's like, guys, if you can FAP to it, you can respect the rights. Come on.
You can
you should anyway.
That like the fappening is one of those moments in time where like that was a clue to young me that like, hey Morgan, bring it in. You're not cishet. Maybe you're not a guy.
With like literally every guy your age is just like, oh yeah, you see that, and you're just like, meh.
Why should I care about this? And like, but naked people, and I'm like, it's the internet. There's naked people all over the place. I don't see the big deal. And it's just like, oh wait, that was a clue. That was an egg moment here on Easter Day of Transvisibility.
See, I made a joke about that in the server. One of the House of F server. Somebody was like, "It's Easter and Trans Day of Visibility." I was like, "Well, because Jesus, like trans people, it comes from an egg,
right?
And that's why we paint eggs on Easter,
right? Exactly.
To celebrate both of those things."
And I reacted to that post with a bunch of egg emojis.
I did not see that. I had to look up. I was like, what is the egg thing with trans people again? I didn't remember exactly what it is.
Right.
And it's like, I had to look it up.
That's why the one egg I put there is the solid egg, and the other one is the egg in the pan, because that one has cracked. So that was my trans humor for the server for today. You're all welcome. You should all thank me. Or thank Dane, and I just reacted to the damn joke. You can do either one. Or both. You could always do both. So, but now I gotta complain about X-Men. And
okay, go ahead.
Rise of the Powers of 10.
Tell us about why Professor X you're a jerk. Professor X is a jerk.
Yeah, like I am full Kate Pride. You're a jerk, Professor. Spoiler alert for this comic book. Plug your ears. So he doesn't shoot Moira, and that's probably for the best. But then he shoots my girl, my bae. He shoots Rachel Gray in the fucking back.
In the back, yeah.
And like, oh, you were willing to reset the timeline a minute ago, but like, you're gonna shoot my girl for the crime of helping and believing in you. And she's like, her girlfriend's not even around. Like,
And she's also, isn't she also in charge of literally a team that is currently right now kind of like trying to, well, I guess that team, the dead X-Men team, doesn't matter anymore if he decides not to do that.
If he decides not to do it.
Yeah.
Except the fact that it does, because they're going to have to fight Charles's Oopsie Doopsie, which is the Omega Sentinel Moira that has now escaped into the timeline.
Yeah, and she's got like a Mysterium axe.
Right. Like, yeah, good work, Chuck. So, like, maybe think things through. And you know who could, like, warn you about that problem? Who could be like, hey, we got a spare Moira in the timeline. Maybe the mutant with a connection to the Phoenix Force who is also aware of changes to the timeline because she's a singular, unique being in the multiverse. There's only one Rachel Gray anywhere. And you shot her in the back. Fuck you, Chuck.
Yeah, it's rough. You know, Rasputin 4 just being the big damn hero of this thing.
She is such a precious cinnamon bun. I love her. She's so sweet and innocent and incredibly violent. It's
great. It's pretty cool. Like just
you can tell that like Mr. Sinister when he's cooking her is like, okay, so I need to make the perfect hero, but I'm also sinister, and I like in my worldview, like the only way you solve things that isn't fuckery is the power of incredible violence. So here is the nicest, sweetest girl ever, and she will fuck you all the way up.
Yeah, the fact that Sinister created such a hero is
right.
kind of wild.
Yeah, I'm so glad that she's become a mainstay X-Men. I hope she stays around.
God, yeah, that's another. Like, I really hope she does. You know, I mean, if we can keep, you know, Cable and Bishop and all these other, you know, time displaced, reality displaced, you know, right. I think she's the next. She's just, there's a tradition, and she needs to stick around.
Right, she's got to stick around. Right, we have X-Man, we have Cable, we have Rachel, we have Bishop. She can join the club. That you could have a whole team of X-Men that's just the time displaced weirdos. Give me this book, Marvel.
So, do we think that right here, because what he decides to do ultimately is to not shoot her,
right?
Because let's be fair, he could still shoot Moira.
He could still go shoot Moira.
I mean, he essentially, like right here, he's got her.
Right.
You know, Rasputin can't stop him. Right there, he's summoned whatever. He's got like these little diamond devices that I guess or summon things from the dead or whatever the hell.
He's got those from Sinister, I think, because Sinister.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, body hopping in Doug, the fucker.
Yeah, and he says, "I hope you'll make the right decision in the end." So if she does, if she in the end doesn't do the thing that, you know, the bad thing that she did in the, like, does that mean that what happens then? As far as like.
Well, because he hasn't killed her, right? And he goes back to No Place X. If he doesn't go back and kill her, like, she already knows what's going to happen is he's going to come and kill her one day. Unless, does he wipe her mind before he leaves?
And you will forget all of this, yeah.
Oh, he does wipe her mind. Okay. So, like, Chuck, let me tell you about a plan here you could have done that might have helped you. Is like, because Moira still hasn't decided to fuck you yet. Probably because she's already fucked you. But, like, you know what I mean? You could just be like, hey, here's like a little noodle you got to put in your plan to just like do this the right way.
Yep.
Oh, we fixed it. I guess it's a story, right? Like, you need the drama to play out. And to do the drama, you have to kill my girl. And I'll be mad.
Well, and then, I mean, I think also whenever you're talking about literally preventing the ascension of a god being that is essentially sinister,
right?
That you don't want to fuck around with. Hopefully, this works types of plans.
But that's what he's doing.
But now he is. But before, what he was doing was like, you know, it's pretty obvious that if you kill her at this point, no Krakoa, no ascension, no Dominion,
right? No Enigma.
Kind of yeah.
Sad Sinisters.
And then, so at the same time, you've got you know, Moira here. I think, so this is where I think this must play directly from this, right? Like, so whatever deal she's making here with Enigma, she's got something in her sleeve, right? Like, she's gonna do something to fuck him, right? You know, like right here where she's like, I just need to open this port here. Okay, and this look on her in her eye right here. That's some sneakiness. She's doing some sneaky.
She's doing some sneaky.
But unclear
what the flavor of sneaky is.
And then was this the first time that we were told anything about this Omega Sentinel being from a certain timeline, a different timeline?
It's from Dead X-Men.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, man. Kieran Gillen's writing some complex shit right now. Like you gotta really.
Guy writes in fucking like layers. It's a little hard to follow.
It can be. You gotta kind of go. I've like pretty much every issue of this, the last, this, and then several issues of Immortal X-Men and stuff. I've gone back and reread just to like make sure I'm getting everything.
Immortal X-Men is such a thick fucking book. Like it's the same number of pages, but somehow it's twice as much shit. And we're just gonna do a gentle sword exorcism.
Yep. You seems you have a bit of a sinister problem in this Doug body.
Right.
Let me just take care of that for you.
I just love the panel on the bottom of the left page. It's just moments before disaster. Oh no, I'm gonna get it.
He's like Krakoa needed him. Remember how that turned out, sir? Very well. Yeah, kill him. Okay. And whoever would have thought that Xavier had a blonde beard? I might have said that last time we looked at one of these, but just
it's a little disconcerting, right? Like
it's odd. You wouldn't have expected it, right?
Thanks, David.
Hey, you too, David. You too. Yeah, we're just looking. I don't know. We call it reviewing. We're just kind of like appreciating, processing frustrations about events, what happens on here on this next page. So yeah, she literally says
here is in like one page of comics. The top of this page is Trans Joy with Rasputin, Boopin, Doug Sinister, and then the next page, once you change the page, this is the opposite of Trans Joy. When you go to the next one,
but we will win. Well, we will try it. We resurrect the Phoenix. It'll work. I know it. So she's very confident, and I guess he is too. Ugh.
Fuck you, Chuck.
Yeah.
I was not okay after this.
See, but so as far as I know, he's actually that's not his actual his beard color is Xavier's. It's more Phantom X's, right? Like he's a Phantom X body.
I thought he got his body back after he got killed the first time in the Krakoa era.
Maybe.
So I know he starts the Krakoan era in Phantom X's body.
Okay.
And we have not gotten Phantom X back, probably because Phantom X is another mutant who would fuck all of this shit up. Like, what if you were your own universe?
But he's not. The thing is Phantom X isn't really a mutant.
No.
So I think that's why he wasn't really invited. Because I did reread. I finished reading my omnibus of Hickman X-Men, including all of the giant sizes and the Phantom X thing and stuff like that. And I remember what it was. The Phantom X it shows several of the incursions that invasions of the city,
the world. Yeah.
The world. Yeah, that he did over the course of decades. So with different teams each time, different attempts each time and it's all to go meet the other version of himself that is basically running the place and becoming very powerful.
Right.
And yeah, he sits outside of the Krakoan gate and waits for Storm and them to decide, come back and help him or whatever. So he's not even, I guess, invited in technically.
Wow. Which is weird because Chuck was in his body. So how did that work? That body would have had an X gene to get through the gate. And he got that body.
I guess it was his mind. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's comic logic, right? So who
Too many
the fuck
questions.
knows? Why is Franklin Richards not a mutant right now? Well, because they don't want Franklin Richards to be a mutant right now.
Because he's too potentially powerful to.
Right. Yeah. Oh, how do you deal with Nimrod? Franklin Richards goes clap off, and that is the end
Remember,
of Nimrod.
you get the little, the kid that beat Onslaught when he was like 2. Or some
Yeah.
shit. Yeah,
Right. It's just like,
he's
this
a teenager
toddler-
now. Imagine what he could do.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's the was it Future Foundation where he makes Galactus his herald because fuck you, I'm Franklin Richards.
It's in Secret Wars actually. Is that when that happens? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. He's actually like riding on Galactus. Yeah. And then there's there's cool stuff in that. When like the Thing is.
Oh, Dane died.
Sorry. The Thing is literally the wall in the battle world. That's what Dr. Doom did with him, was made him into the wall. I love that shit. And then he finally gets up after he realizes oh wait, this is all a Dr. Doom bullshit thing going on. I'm getting up.
Excuse me, I gotta stretch my legs because it is clobbering time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Franklin Richards could do all sorts of nasty things to Nimrod, and now I just want a what if. Where what if Franklin Richards was still a mutant in the Krakoa era, and when Nimrod tries to colony drop onto Krakoa during the Hellfire Gala, he just turns into fucking balloons or something. It's just confetti.
I just finished reading Earth X and a little while ago. And that's a weird one. And I don't mean just like the story, the things that happen are weird. It's just like the vibe of it is weird. Yeah. It's like, I understand doing a future set thing where the future is kind of fucked up or whatever, but it's just so dour and it does eventually start to get, inject hopefulness into it and stuff, but it takes a long ass time.
Right.
And
yeah. There's a lot of those future Marvel books that's just too dour for too long. That's why I haven't gotten into this future Avengers story they're doing right now. It's oh great, it's another old man Avengers where everything.
Yeah, but I mean I think that's kind of the opposite, honestly. Twilight, it goes fast. Yes, it starts off kind of like that, but then I think we just got to the 4th issue. And by the end of that, you've got the band's back together and shit. Oh, okay. It's you're oh, we're about to fucking, Red Skull is behind all this. Spoiler alert. And we're about to take the fight to him and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's at a pace that it justifies the dourness, and it gives you just enough of the fuck yeah, let's kick some ass Avengers kind of vibes. But
I'm glad that's good because Marvel has often screwed these stories up.
True.
The Spider-Man one is fucking abysmal.
I mean, it's Chip Zdarsky, and one thing he knows how to do is keep a story going.
Yeah.
That's really well. Pretty much anything I've ever read by Zdarsky, I think he's just keeps it, clipping along at a nice pace, even whenever there's a lot going on.
Which is important because you don't have a lot of page count to tell your story, and I think some comic writers they don't write their story with their artist, and you can kind of tell because they get kind of wordy.
Yeah.
And they pack too much into too little panels, and it just kind of.
Yeah, there's MC2, and then
MC2 is good, yeah.
And then there was that old woman, Laura.
Oh, I haven't read that one.
It literally is it's a utopia essentially that she exists in that one.
Fuck up, that's wild.
Yeah, it's kind of went a different direction with it than the old man Logan.
I think and it's not remotely Marvel, but of the future comic universe stories that I think is my favorite is still Batman Beyond. Where that manages...
You mean the cartoon or the comics?
Yeah, the cartoon, yeah. Okay. The comic, they've never gotten the comics right. I wish they could do that, but they seem to fuck it up every time.
I'm trying to think of which ones. So, So anyway, what I was saying about Earth X was about Franklin Richards. Is
sure.
He becomes Galactus.
Oh, interesting. That weirdly makes sense to me.
And then I think that's kind of technically somewhat canon as to being the future because I have the History of the Marvel Universe book. Mm-hmm. It's they released it as single issues as it came out, but
Sure.
I've got the collected thing there, and it's pretty cool because it really goes into the history of the Marvel universe from like all angles, like Asgardians, Wakandans, and just like the ancient world, how it was, and you know, it even includes like the Avengers of 1,000,000 BC or whatever.
Oh wow, that I didn't read all of it. I didn't get a chance to. I could go back and read it now, but like the first couple, it's just a wild concept, right? Of like, well, what's the Phoenix look like? And like, here's Odin, and it's just like, what the fuck is going on?
The cool thing about that is it doesn't seem to have a purpose until you get to the end of Aaron's Avengers run when he starts doing his Avengers Forever stuff.
Sure.
Which is like, it includes, it like kind of weaves in what's happening in the current main Avengers book at the time, where they are literally crossing over into the Avengers Forever and joining up with all these Avengers from across the multiverse to just form
super
this
cool
multiversal team. It's the most epic Avengers shit to ever avenge. I don't know that you can ever do anything honestly bigger than what he did in that, because it just, you've got all of the worst villains from across the multiverse have come together, and they're like going through the multiverse wiping shit out. And then you got the Avenger Prime, mysterious Avenger Prime, who's, you know, assembling all the Avengers from across the multiverse. And there's some very cool and interesting
okay, I have a question about Avenger Prime. Is it just like Immortus or something, or Kang the Conqueror?
No, it makes a lot of sense who it is. It's the guy who he's although not really an Avenger, he was there at the beginning. He was the reason for the Avengers coming together.
Oh, I see who it is. Okay, I don't want to spoil it, but I think I see who it is.
And it makes sense, really.
Right. And it's the sort of character that would be able to do that kind of shenanigans.
Yep. He's the kind of character like, that he's you know, kind of had this whole arc where he sees the importance of the Avengers, and they're like, this is my role that I'm supposed to play in this story.
And he loves playing roles.
Yep. And he loves stories. Some would say he might be like some kind of god of them.
He really is. You know, I think it's to sort of go back to something like when you're talking about like the big stupid comic book moments. I think that's the ultimate triumph of the Avengers movie is in Endgame, when you have the fucking money shot with everybody coming out of the portals and Cap says Avengers assemble, and movie theaters lost their goddamn mind.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what it's all about. Is this is like peak dumb comic book shit. It's great.
I mean, but it's not even dumb. I mean, like, I know I would call it that too dismissively, but at the same time, I don't think it is, because the emotion that you feel from that comes from hours and hours of pretty solid, at least, storytelling that has taken place with these characters that you've seen go through some shit, and like it's not just like pure popcorn. There's definitely an element of that, but like, you know, there's also just like seeing T'Challa coming out after, you know,
right,
and
that's kind of the last time we see T'Challa.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And then like, you know, in fact, the first thing that you hear of the Avengers showing up to back up Cap is on your left, and like that just references that fucking moment in the beginning of Winter Soldier, and it goes back to that, and it's like that's storytelling. That's not just like dumb comic book storytelling. That's like actual, you know, narrative callback that like has character resonance and shit.
But what it does is it uses like a dumb comic book moment but pulls all of those things into that, right? It pulls all of this world building and all of these character interactions together, and the medium for it is this big it's in a comic book, it would be the big splash page in the middle of the book, right?
Yeah.
And like,
Greg, you get it. That's why Endgame, I think, is, you know, people like to say, oh, the Infinity War is the better one. It's like, I don't think so, man. Not if you're looking for like legitimate, like, you know, I mean, yeah, popcorn moments. There's some great shit in Infinity War. I'm not trying to say it's bad or anything, but like, it's truly a good movie. It's impressive that it worked the way that it did. But Endgame just has like a lot of resolution, a lot of finality. I'm a sucker for finality. I've always been like,
I think that you could watch just Infinity or just Endgame, and it's a contained movie.
True.
Like, if you divorce it from, like, pretend you've never seen Infinity War, you know, a bunch of, like, at the beginning of the movie, you know, a bunch of people are gone. You know, like, Tony is completely fucked up from something and he's with Nebula. Like, he's fucking traumatized and just wants to disconnect from all of this. They go and get their revenge. They do their avenging, but it doesn't bring them any peace, right? And then the whole rest of the movie is about going back and getting their peace. And that peace isn't defeating Thanos, because they already know they can do that. Defeating Thanos is not a problem for these people. It is the thing they are doing, the thing they are fighting for is to get their loved ones back and to move on with their lives. Where Infinity War, by being Empire Strikes Back, has no resolution, right?
Yeah. And Greg, man, you get it. You see those little moments too that I don't know if everybody else catches those or not, but like, you know, and then thinks of where they were set up in previous films, right?
Yep.
Like the you know, Wasp making fun of Scott for, you know, calling him Cap, you know what I mean? But then like calls him Cap, and then the Clint, you know, from whenever he's like, "Hi, I'm Clint," he's like, "I don't care."
Right.
Good shit.
It's a lot of thought and care went into that movie, and like that you can have what is a cliche dumb comic book scene have all the heart of all of these movies is really fantastic. And when on your left, that was when the theater I was at started to
I think that was just the I think that was just the moment that was designed for that, like that there were a million theater ceilings nearly caved in at the same time, basically.
Right. It measured on the Richter scale, like it's crazy. Well, even because before that is him, like that's when he's fighting Thanos with the shield and with Mjolnir. And that was already a fucking like
you've already gotten Avengers Assemble. You've already gotten the big three just going up against Thanos and you know, getting some good hits in, but still just fucking kind of getting trounced.
Right.
On your left. And like, I mean, and that's literally, for those of you that know your Infinity Gauntlet story, there's that moment that this is that it's personally resonant for me as a comics fan, because like I used to think Captain America was so lame when I was a kid. Like, I did not get why this dude was still around. Like, oh, okay, like maybe he was cool in the 40s or whatever. Like,
well, I think, you know, by the time the MCU started, I don't think Marvel knew why he was around.
It's so like there's that
like,
moment.
There's a reason they killed him.
There's the moment in the freaking in Infinity Gauntlet whenever Thanos has just basically killed almost everybody.
Right.
He's already wiped out half the universe. He's you know, either he's killed Wolverine, I think he's killed, you know, like so many people are just dead. The heroes that kind of went up against him and just are done. People with fucking badass powers are dead. And then Captain America's standing there. And he's just like, he's just walking up to him slowly. And it's like, what is he going to do? What is this guy going to do? And it's like, but I remember being a kid reading that, probably 10 or 11 or something, and kind of
it's
maybe
cool.
12, and realizing like, oh, this is what's cool about Captain America, is like, he's not, he knows, but he's not going to just give up. He's not going to run away, you know?
He's going to make this guy do it, right?
And so that's why it was cool in the movie, because that's literally what that references. It has the long shot of them on the battlefield just kind of facing each other down. And it's like, oh God, it's that moment.
Yeah, I think Infinity War is a fine movie, but like if I have 2 hours to watch an Avengers movie, it's got to be Endgame.
Yeah, but you won't be able to finish it in 2 hours.
Well, that's fair. That's very fair. It's a long movie.
Yeah. You know, and then of course, if you've seen my Hulk video, you know that there's like a particular thing with all that just like, I mean, it brings a tear to my eye every single time.
Such a great.
I did not think that
great moment.
Characters like I didn't think that you could bring like, I legit remember thinking, you know, a few years before Infinity War or anything, thinking that like the only way that they can end Captain America's story is he's going to have to die saving everyone. That was legit me, who I consider myself a writer. That was the only thing I could think that would be a satisfying character resolution for him.
Right.
You know, it's like, he's just gonna have to die. You know, like that's gonna be that's what he's meant to do, right? Like he's man at a time. He's just gonna have to sacrifice himself. Blah blah. It's like, no, that's gonna be fucking Iron Man that's gonna do that. And Captain America's gonna go back and get that dance with his lady, you dumb bastard. And I'm like, oh,
right.
You're so right.
Fuck you.
So much better.
I love like, this is, I think, because I knew, just because of how like movies are and how studios are, that like this was not going to be the end of the MCU, but it was going to be the end of the MCU, because like the perfect closure is right. It started with Iron Man and it ends with Iron Man. And I think that tells such a complete story, that like this guy that was always trying to cheat death, was always trying to build his way out of his problems, was like, nope. The guy who said, I'll never make the sacrifice play. Oh, Greg's got it. Does that. It's so fucking cool. Like, and his whole arc in that movie about like his whole change in motivation is so cool.
Well, and like the thing is too that it's not he didn't make that decision in that moment either.
No, he had made that decision beforehand.
The decision was made before he ever left with the Avengers to go. It's like he's like, this is probably what's going to happen, you know. And it's like that. The rest of seeing him, like whenever Doctor Strange does he tells him one, you know, like seeing that look on his face is not him trying to decide if he should. He's deciding if he can.
Right.
You know, like basically he's like, can I fucking do this? You know,
if you want to know what the tell is that he can do it, it's in the movie, because he makes the gauntlet for Hulk to use to make the snap, but his Iron Man armor can integrate the Infinity Stones.
Yeah, I mean, he could have just made it, one size fits Hulk, and
right. But the suit was also compatible. Well, Tony plans those things out years in advance, right? Like he cooks on those suits. That was the plan. Or if it wasn't the plan, it was always a thing he knew he could have to do.
Nope. Bad. Nope. Wrong. I don't agree with that at all. I think that's too fucking corny by half.
It's a little on the nose. I wouldn't have minded a riff from that song in the credits. Just as like we all know, but I don't think it needed to be in the scene. Yep. Yeah, it's literally the reverse hand.
Yeah,
it's such a good movie. And I think as far as like the MCU stuff that I've liked the best since then, it's been like Loki and Hawkeye to an extent that kind of carry out of that movie. I think, I mean, Thor, I don't know what was going on with Thor. Like that movie should have been better, and it just wasn't. I don't know what happened. COVID. Black Panther 2 feels like it's kind of in its own weird bubble. I think that's just because of the whole.
I was just talking about it with my girlfriend about how like it's a good movie.
It's really good movie.
There's nothing bad about it. It's just like got this shadow over the whole thing. It's just like
and like they did as good as they could, right? Like that movie was going to have that shadow, and there was nothing you could do about it. No one working on that movie could change that fact.
There's a weird vibe of the fact that like you're dealing with the real death of the man, and then also that's what he dies in the story too.
In the story,
I think there's something that maybe there's something I could think about some more, but I feel like my brain was trying to reconcile those two facts during a lot of it.
Yeah,
which is, whereas like normally you would expect, I don't know, like bad comparison, but like Fast and Furious.
Oh.
Paul Walker, died filming like I think the 7th one or whatever, and like
he's just been off screen the whole time. Like they call him and stuff.
They got his brothers to like do some shots where he like, oh, I'm driving off into the sunset now, but then like they've also had him kind of in the peripheral here and there too. Since then, it's like it's still it's not as doesn't take me out of it. I'm able to accept that a little bit more, maybe because it's also just not a whole movie centered around.
Right, like that's the thing is like that's sort of a more ensemble piece.
No, I mean that's the thing. I think that was the best choice. You're right.
Yeah,
like it is the movie, and maybe one day, years from now, I'll be able to watch it and just kind of like on its own merits be like, this is a fucking beautiful. I mean, it is a beautiful tribute to him. Like the opening several 20 minutes or whatever is a fucking tribute to him. The whole funeral scene and everything is like, holy fucking shit. It's good, but yeah, and there's, I hate to say it, Letitia Wright did pretty good. I wasn't expecting much from her. I don't think that she necessarily carried it the way that she, there was a lot of pressure on her for sure.
Yeah, she there's some things about her personal beliefs that I vehemently disagree with, but like, I don't want to do that job. I'm like, oh yeah, this movie was not just a huge comic book movie, but a huge cultural movie for the African American community and for the African people in general, because they don't get superhero movies like this.
She was hardly in it though.
She's not in it. Yeah, she could be in. She's probably my favorite character in those movies, but she's not in it enough, which is, it happens.
She is apparently in this A Quiet Place movie that's coming up, prequel.
Wow.
It's coming out. But yeah, like I just don't agree with the cat recast. Maybe eventually, years and years from now, but like there's people that are like, recast T'Challa now kind of attitude, and it's like, no, man, like it wasn't just some actor playing a role. Like you look at videos and stuff of him like meeting with little kids and shit, and like
little kids and even like older fans who were really moved by this guy's performance and stuff. Like, I think to give the actor a tribute in this way to the character was the right thing to do, and I think that its fans deserved it.
And I mean, there's the character itself, the lore in the MCU and definitely in the comics, but even in the MCU, there's a lot of stuff about death, about the Black Panther lore and the Wakandan lore that makes a lot of sense to kind of continue on as well, and just have him deal with that, because remember him sitting on the bench in Civil War when he talks to Black Widow, and he's like, in my culture, death is not the end, and that's really beautiful shit there.
Right. It's a really fascinating character, and I think that they did a good job to continue it that way. I think to compare it to another actor who died in a major film franchise that I think they dropped the ball with was Carrie Fisher and The Rise of Skywalker, where they abused her fucking digital corpse all over that movie. Like, that was one of the things when I rewatched it for the show, was that like they had to script other people's dialogue around unused footage they had of Carrie Fisher from The Force Awakens. And like the angles are weird and the cuts are weird, all to make it look like Carrie Fisher's alive and not really pay respect to Carrie Fisher as an actor.
You know who I blame?
The jellyfish?
The alt-right.
I mostly blame the jellyfish, but
yeah. I mean, I blame the alt-right
too. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the alt-right, they fondled her corpse, her digital corpse, as you said, basically.
Yeah.
You imagine that? It should piss you off enough at these people for ruining that shit.
Yeah, I don't think one person is to blame. It's one of the things that I do think that, like, I think Kathleen Kennedy screwed up some stuff as far as like there was never a plan, right? They didn't have the end planned out when they started. They knew they were going to do 3 movies.
I don't think you needed to have a plan. I just think you needed to, at the very base minimum, you needed to have an understanding of who these characters were and where you wanted them to end up.
You don't need the end written, but you need to know where you want everyone at the end.
Who do you want Rey to be? What is her kind of like, George Lucas didn't have a plan, but he knew that Luke Skywalker was going to go through this hero's journey. He was going to have, be tested with, whether he could do it or join the dark side. Like all that stuff was in his mind, I'm certain, before he ever really wrote a script.
Right.
And so there you go. And then just same thing with Han Solo to some degree. It's like you got this scoundrel. He doesn't want to fucking help the rebellion. He doesn't believe in all this bullshit. It's like by the end, he's like, he's there alongside. He's helping. He's softening up. And all that stuff was kind of like, but then you don't know what you're doing with Finn. You don't know what you're doing with Rey. You don't know what you're doing with Kylo. You don't know what, what I mean? Like, it's all just like, I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go.
And like, that you know, the buck stops at the head, and that's Kennedy in this instance. And yeah, she should have done a better job.
She's also not an evil person who ruins
She's not an
everything she
evil
touches.
person. She hasn't ruined Star Wars. 2 out of those 3 movies are very good.
One of them is the best one.
One of them is
Yeah, you can't. I can't be mad at her whenever she is. No, you see, you're not saying it right. I can't get mad at her when she literally is responsible for my personal favorite Star Wars.
Right? Yeah, it's like, you know, Rogue One is everything young me wanted as a child. It's fucking X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. It's ships crashing into each other. That's everything I wanted as a kid. Yeah, fuck, it's awesome. But like,
yeah, there is a possibility that they can kind of like, you know, maybe in hindsight or in retrospect, make it a little bit better, right? Like,
I think that's what they're like. I think her movie is going to be called New Jedi Order, the one that's in production right now.
Do you think that they recognize that they kind of like didn't get a satisfactory ending with that?
Yeah, I mean they made that movie because they changed directors. They reacted instead of having a plan, right? Because if Last Jedi has the reaction it has, and you have a plan, you're like, okay, this is where we want the characters to end up, and we have a plan. Then you're at least in the mode of we have a plan and we can look at the numbers. And what do the numbers say? The movie made $1 billion. These loud people on the internet are loud people on the internet. That's the reason George sold the company. George sold everything because he was sick of fucking us on the internet giving him shit for 20 years. Like, ever since the special editions and Han Shot First and all that stuff, and changing the song in Jabba's palace, and then the prequels. Like, George Lucas, the reason George Lucas sold Star Wars was because he was sick of us, because we were shit. And he was right to. But Kennedy should have known, that's not going to change. 20 years of shitty fan behavior isn't going to go away because Disney bought it. Yeah, so I don't know. I have my issues with her, but that's just business decisions, and she's fine as a person, and she's made lots of amazing things since she's been in charge of Lucasfilm. I think Andor, Rogue One, Bad Batch has been really good. Ahsoka was pretty good. Mandalorian, I have issues with, to put it lightly. But I think it's been more hits than misses. Yeah, and that the other thing is that, yeah, the fandom menacers were wanting Dynasty Warrior Luke Skywalker, and we were never going to get that. I mean, actually, when I was at GaryCon, I had a conversation with my friend about The Last Jedi, and I was like, because he sort of grew up in that, like, Luke Skywalker's a superhero era, and I was like, okay, think about this. Take everything you've thought about Luke Skywalker from the time you saw Return of the Jedi to now. Erase it. The Luke Skywalker at the end of Return of the Jedi is 2 inches from falling to the dark side, and he's a colossal fuck-up who's managed to make it work, right? He redeemed his father, they defeated the Emperor together, everything's going to be great. But he's just a guy. He's a guy with tremendous power.
And tremendous trauma and tremendous fucking confusion. Trauma. Like, the only reason that the heroes won is because he, you know, was naive. It could have been naive enough that it just was stupid, but it turns out he was accidentally right about his dad.
Right. You know, he took a bet on his dad. He put his faith in his dad, and his dad realized, I can't let my son die. I can't let the last memory of my wife, who I fell to the dark side for, die.
Or it will all have been for nothing.
Like, it'll be for nothing, right? And so, but like, Luke is a very fallible person in the original trilogy. And for his downfall to be his fallibility fits with the character.
I think they even aside from the EU stuff, there's the way he acts in Return of the Jedi that also kind of conveys like, I am a super badass now, and he's really that's if you think about it, that's kind of like overcompensating behavior in a way.
What is he? Okay, so look, let's go back, and this is the genius of the original trilogy. let's go back to A New Hope. One of the first things we see Darth Vader do when he's on the Tantive 4 is he picks up the Captain Antilles, and chokes him to death. Now, he uses his bare hands, right? Because we're not going to introduce the Force choke till later in the movie. But he picks up this guy and just fucking chokes him to death. What is the first thing we see Luke Skywalker do in Return of the Jedi when he walks into Jabba's palace? He chokes
one of those pig dudes.
Yeah, he chokes out the 2 guards with the Force. That's not a good guy thing.
I mean,
that is not the good guy power.
I've said it before, and whenever me and Perp talked about it once, I've got a clip of it somewhere. But like, yeah, like if you really pay attention, Luke is much closer to the dark side than I think many of us ever considered when we were watching it originally.
And you look at like where Anakin is, and sort of to tie it all, tie it more together, right? You look at where Anakin is in Episode 3. At the beginning of the movie, he's still the hero. He hasn't fallen yet, but he's on that brink, right? And it just takes a push to knock him over the edge. And it's Palpatine who tries to give them kind of the same push, right? It's like, oh, I can help you save your wife. Oh, I can help you defeat your dad who's very evil, and you can learn the true power of the Force from me because all your mentors suck, right? And that's the thing with Anakin, right? Oh, yeah, look, Anakin, all your mentors, they won't teach you the real power of the Force, but I will. I'll do it. Just gotta join up with me. And he tries the same spiel on Luke, right? It all, George tied it all together. And that Luke that went through all of that, yeah, that guy's kind of prone to fuck up. And I think when, this is kind of a retcon they've added in, but like, I think his appearance in Book of Boba Fett, where he's kind of like trying to blackmail Grogu with a lightsaber, it's like, someone has not learned their lesson, Luke Skywalker. Like Luke is like, hi, child. Yes, everyone you know is dead. This person has brought you into his life and shown you more love and affection than anyone else, and he won't even show you his face. And you want to go back to him because he's a nice man, but I need you to be a fucking space wizard. So I'm gonna make you. You can get his T-shirt he made you, his little cute T-shirt, or you can get this laser sword. Which would you like? Like, that's fucking scumbag shit. Luke in Book of Boba Fett's a fucking scumbag.
I found this clip right here. It's also where I am a Thalos siren.
Brought that up.
I mean, hey, you're the one that got me thinking about it. Don't give me all the credit, because like, yeah, like based on context in the original trilogy, I think that Luke got closer to the dark side than we probably assumed.
Yep. Yeah, I think what happened is to answer Julia's question, Luke didn't break bad because he realized that he was on the brink with Kylo in the Rashomon segments of The Last Jedi. That like, no, he wasn't the demon Kylo saw in Kylo's version of the story, but he still wasn't in the right, and he still fucked up, and it cost him everything. And all he could do was all he could see himself do is, I just need to get away from everyone, because the problem in my life, in my life, and the lives of my loved ones is me. Which, as a person with clinical depression, I fucking get that. That's so fucking real to me. That like yeah. The problem in my life is always me. If I let my brain run wild, right? If my depression gets a hold of me, and I have a support system that helps me, but in a traumatic moment like that system's not there.
Julia, you don't have to keep spamming references to Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I actually haven't watched more than the first season of Breaking Bad.
Oh my god, Bob. So check this out. I got a hot take for you. I got a hot take for all you guys. Let's see what you think about this. The Jedi Council, the Jedi, as a concept, the Jedi code, everything it seems to be designed to create Sith. When you've got like literally don't have attachments, don't feel fucking feelings, and shit like that. You're basically like, these are very toxic fucking, you know, things that you're forcing. It's honestly surprising that there hadn't been more Vaders. I mean, there are basically. There's every once in a while one of these Jedi breaks bad, so to speak, and becomes a Sith, because it's like it's not healthy to force those kinds of rules onto a young, you know, you often male, but not always, but anybody, you know, like literally don't have any attachments.
The main characters are all male, right? The characters that they put through that, you know, up until we get Ahsoka, are never forced into that. And even in like the Clone Wars, they do a good job of showing that, like, Obi-Wan had a side piece.
Yeah.
The Clone Wars isn't subtle that he, like, the difference between him and Anakin is that Obi-Wan's a coward.
Well, I mean, like, the thing is it's, I don't know, it almost seems like it's probably not by design, but I mean, the effect of the Jedi Code, the way that it was for thousands of years, is that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Jedi exist to fight the Sith, right? It's kind of like the police, right? The police are here to, you know, keep the the heathens in line or whatever. It's like, but they're literally contributing to conditions that create the problems that they are supposed to be dealing with.
Right. I want to touch on the Crawling Chaos's most recent comment.
Oh.
So here's my hot take on that. The Jedi are cooler because they're flawed.
Yeah. The Jedi are cooler because they're not. It's not just like a vague idea of something that you can just imagine it being a perfect thing or whatever. It's like, no. Yes.
Like that. So in the prequel era, right? Like the Jedi are put into this impossible situation where, for generations, they have been made to be basically the military of the Galactic Republic, and they're a small religious order that should never have been in that position. And they're like, we are willing to lay down our lives for that and lead these clones in battle and treat them like people. And even, you know, before we get the Clone Wars, like in episode 3, we get some interaction between like Obi-Wan and Commander Cody, and they're friends. Like, it is the movie does a good job of, like, these people are more than just co-workers, that like the Jedi have embraced these clones as people they fight alongside and believe in and trust explicitly. I think that adds a lot to their character and it humanizes them. I also think that the sequels has the best Jedi moment in Star Wars, hands down.
Which is
Luke Skywalker's Force illusion at the end of...
Oh, yeah.
That is the coolest thing a Jedi has ever done in Star Wars, and I will fight you on it.
You don't have to. I literally wrote that and edited it into our Critical Drinker thing.
Yeah, and we've played it on like our Mary Sue episode and a bunch of times. Yeah, but with that being said, it is a little late, and I need to, you know, be visible to my spouse as well on this Trans Day of Visibility to bring it back around.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you allowed us to. I'm glad you were visible to us, and you have only limited time as the stars are aligned and you know, the moons are in synchronicity and everything. So I appreciate that you use some of that for our sake.
I will vanish until next year this time, or I decide to be on camera again. So thanks everyone.
I mean, it's a good thing you can at least be in a disembodied voice, and we are glad for that. No,
I can be a disembodied voice. I do
have something. Have something special here.
Ooh, something special.
You know, we're talking about actual dildos and stuff.
Oh, no.
I have a prototype.
Do I have to hide? Do I have to cover Raichu's eyes? Can the producer
probably want to do that? Yeah, it's a clip. It's you know, it's a couple of minutes long, but it's what I'll end with, and
I'll cover your ears too. Yeah.
It's from a show that's a very good show that I like a lot. If you've seen my Hulk video, which if you haven't, you should check it out. But if you have, there's recurring kind of unrelated clips that I just kind of use from a certain show. Well, it's one of those.
I know that. Yeah, I know where you're going. All right.
Do you know the clip I'm going with?
I don't necessarily know the clip, but I know the show now.
All right. So this is thrown out there as the first prototype, the first model of actual dildonic device that we might brand and sell. No guarantees, but thank you. Please like and subscribe.
Check out the Patreon. Thank you for all coming on Trans Day of Visibility.
And thank you for being here. And if you were looking forward to the history of conservatism, then that is next week.
We will start.
I'm going to be here with bells on.
We gave you just a tip today with Comstock, and we'll We'll show you more next time.
It's going to get really, really dumb, learning about these people.
So dumb. They're so dumb.
It's the history of dumb people finding somewhat, admittedly, sometimes clever ways to enforce their dumbness on other people. But yeah.
All right.
Remember
to praise Bill.
Praise Bill and praise Mac. Peace.
Just let me put this to bed, okay, Mac? We're in support of it. So just come on out of the closet and be done with it. You'll feel better.
Come on out. I honestly have no idea what you're talking about.
Mac. We found the bike.
Yeah, so?
The bike in the basement?
What about it?
Oh, Mac. Mac, don't make me go get the bike.
Oh, I've got nothing to hide. Just go get the bike.
I'm gonna go get the bike. Well, I would like to present into evidence, Mac's bike.
What? It's an awesome workout bike. What's the big deal?
Okay. Mac, why don't you go ahead and operate the bike?
Yeah, sure. Problem. Just like any other workout bike. Well, the pedals.
There you go. It's outrageous.
Yeah, there it is. I mean, it's just the craziest. Okay, all right. I know what you're thinking, okay, but it is not what it looks like.
Yeah, what it looks like is that you are fucking yourself with a dildo bike.
I mean, you got the bike shorts with the slits in them and the ones in the back. That's for airflow.
This is grotesque.
No, you're not understanding. I modded out a regular workout bike to create the optimal workout. And added a penis.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I see where you guys are getting off the rails. That's not a penis.
Oh.
It's a fist. I call it the Ass Pounder 4000, and it works like
May Bill Gaines shine his heavenly light upon you and impregnate you with many happy days and joy fetuses. May your anuses be cleansed by the purifying light that exudes from Bill Gaines' eternal dragon phallus. Should you meet your mortal demise this day, go with comfort that you have satisfied the commands of the one true Bill, those being this: read comic books. Fuck the dumb shit. Be yourself. Love each other. Also, read more comics and grow your hair out all goddamn while. Amen.
Actual fandom is not going to stop.